Hi, everybody. Oh, thank you so much for doing this video idea, JB. We just love it around here.
So did it work?
I don't know. We're in high hopes that it is.
So
So welcome back, everybody, to
season 2, episode 2.
and nobody else
Else.
but the Larry Highfill
Uh,
on. Larry, how are you today,
I'm
sir?
doing great. Having a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for being on. Zach, I also want to thank the other Zach for
Zach
coming
Collins over
in.
there.
Yes, sir, for coming in and helping us today, getting everything set up. He is one of the big reasons, well, the reason that we kind of are going to get more towards the bigger apps, the podcasts,
Right. Yes.
all of that. He found a way to get that started up, so he's kind of slipping out the side door. But a big thanks to him for getting that started. But we will go back to the main guest of today, Larry. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, sir, for being on.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it here.
So as before we get started on the whole journey and all of that stuff, everybody knows that Larry is one of the guys that. Oh no. Sorry, there's slipping out the side doors not going as slippily as it thought it was going to. But anyways, so um, there are many things that you do here at home church, but one of the things that you do outside of church is still something that you do in the church as well, and that's um, handyman. You know, all
Yeah.
of that work. How long have you been doing stuff like that? How long have you had your own business?
Oh, had my
Yeah,
own
business. We'll
business.
start with the
Okay, with
business.
the business. I started Remodelers Unlimited in 2000, and previous I had another business in Columbia, Missouri for 10 years, and I just all I cover is home remodeling, repairs. There's so much more technique and art to it than what anybody even thinks about. I always love Home Depot and Lowe's and those places that have the DIY classes because somebody attends one of those classes says, "Oh, I can do that," or now that we've got YouTube, "Oh, I watched a YouTube on that," and they go in, mess it up, and then call me in and say, "Hey, this didn't go the way they showed me it was supposed to go, and can you fix it?" And as Bob the Builder would say, "Yes, we can." And so, yeah, I've made a uh, another career out of doing nothing but remodeling homes and light commercial, and keeps me about a year behind. And I've already been doing stuff even before we started this podcast today, and going to do some more after we're done. Yeah, there's no sleep, no rest, but it's okay.
No days off for Larry.
No days off. No.
And then on top of that, not only, which I know not as much anymore, but you were teaching outside of that, and on top of that, were a volunteer firefighter at one point in time. So all of that,
Hmm.
and that's not even what all you do in the doors here at church. And the I think you're going to be one of the better examples of whenever we talk about how do you involve Christ in your life and you say you're busy. You know, that's one of the
Right.
big excuses that anybody use. I use it all the time. I'm busy. I've got a lot going on. And
Sure.
and so there is an aspect of busy, like you said, you it never ends.
Right.
So not just is the stuff that you do here. We just wanted to kind of give a shout out to Larry's capabilities outside the walls of the church and what you have your own business and stuff, and we've got
Well, he doesn't just have one. He's got like 3 that he owns and operates. Well, I guess 2
I
that you
own and
own,
operate too. Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
heavily involved in a third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have the construction company, and I also have a DJ service. Had it for over 30 years now, and do a lot of weddings, corporate events. I'll DJ and MC. Um, and if I'm not doing that, then I'm officiating weddings.
So now, what's the difference for those that maybe don't? Because to me, I don't. What's the difference in a DJ and what was the
The
MC.
MC.
what's the difference between those two?
A DJ just plays your music, plays off a set list that someone gives them, or if you have free range, why you just play play so the people can dance and enjoy and have a good time. MCing is not only playing the music, but also uh, coordinating and running the event. Like at a wedding, I'll DJ the music for the ceremony itself.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
And then whenever we get into the reception, I handle the microphone. I keep things moving in a timely manner, hyping up the crowd.
So it's cheaper in a sense to have a DJ than it would be an MC because a
Right.
DJ you're just doing your own thing.
Right.
You're basically just making sure there's noise in the background. An
Right.
MC, you're coordinating, you're moving people.
Right.
Hey folks, we're ready to eat.
Uh-huh.
Tables 1 and 2, you go. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and kind of having fun whenever they're doing the cake cutting. I always tell the groom, I say, "Hey, young man, now I know that your temptation is to go ahead and smash that cake in her face."
Oh, and it was Larry MC'd our wedding.
Yeah.
So
And I say, "Now, remember, you're married now, signed, sealed, delivered. You have to go home to this lady, and if you smash cake in her face after all that makeup, all the hair and the dress and all that, and she gets mad about it, it's you on the line, not us." And I'll play it like that, and then we do the garter tosses and bouquet tosses and take requests, and when it's time to leave, I'll tell them, last song, thanks for coming, and then close them out.
And obviously, you don't need a shout out on the business with being a year booked out, but for those that want a real life testimony, as somebody who has had Larry's services,
a plethora of times. Yes.
um, you can vouch for the quality and the experience altogether. How
Yeah. Yeah. Larry does a phenomenal job, just all the way around. If he can't figure it out right then and there, he's gonna spend the time to figure it out, find you the right part, and get the job done that he needs to get done. Whether it's crawling in a crawl space and putting duct tape on your ductwork because yeah, all your air conditioning is going out underneath into your crawl space,
Yep.
or he spends a week and a half trying to make sure your heater works. He's gonna spend the time and make sure the job's done right. So I know Caitlin and I greatly appreciate you and all the time
Yeah.
that you've put in just into our new home, not even including our old home. So
Yes.
we appreciate everything you've done for us so far.
Well,
Larry.
and I build this business off of just a couple things: honesty and integrity. And if you don't have honesty and integrity going into someone's home, then you don't have anything. There's enough people out here that, oh, I can come fix that for you and spend half a day on something and charge by the hour. And their rates are not cheap. And you know what? It's still not right whenever they're gone. But and they say, oh, well, that's all the time I've got. No, you've got to make for sure that you can get these things done and done properly to where it's fixed, but you don't know it's an add-on or a repair.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is to like people that are coming to you for a specific thing, it's because they can't do it. And like in the automotive industry, you hear the people, I used to be a mechanic and I just don't want to do it anymore, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
It's like, look, it's two reasons you didn't do it. You don't know how or you're too lazy.
Right.
So you came to us for a reason. It's because you can't do what needs to be done.
Right.
And so it's funny to me that that's a way to look at it, but it's also viewed as, no, you're my customer. I'm going to take care of you. I want to.
Right.
So it's like a relationship, and it's that type of thing that it's easy to say it's just another. I put a floor in at Betty's house yesterday.
Right.
Well, after time, Betty becomes somebody that you're, hey,
Mhm.
anything else, and the next thing you know, it's 9 o'clock at night and we're
Right.
finishing up practice on a Tuesday. Larry's getting a phone call because Betty locked herself out of the house.
Right.
Larry's got to head out.
Hmm.
So you don't only bring yourself into church, but you bring church to these people. These people
Oh,
need
definitely.
help. They don't know how to do these things. And so you're there
Hmm.
and it's 9 o'clock at night. Like you said, I got to get out of here because I got to get there before Menards closes
Right.
because Betty locked herself out again.
Right.
So, and that was the thing that um, I was going to get into next was we'll start in to home church. So what was your starting of service here at home church? What teams did you start on here at home church?
Well, I was in on the original start of home church. Um, I took on the tech with you guys. Um, I also uh, do the yeah, I know. I also do security, and we have a great security team. We have a great tech team. Whenever we started at the home church, we had the blue room,
Yeah.
and I said, well, we're starting up. Uh, Here, use my sound equipment. I'm not using it right now. Just take it, use it to whatever length you need to. Then we got this place here, and this used to be a gentleman's gambling club for 3 weeks before the Fed shut them down. And the
Hallelujah.
hallelujah,
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
and next door in the children's area used to be a beauty shop. Well, we had a lot of discussion on the layout of this place, and we had no women's bathrooms back there, no offices. This still had all beauty shop stuff in it, and
I was gonna say, yeah, if I remember correctly, the offices just used to be one big long hallway and storage
it was
room.
storage.
Yeah.
And so we got to talking about finances and the way this needed to get set up and the visions that Clayton and Jamie had and the board. And so we've transformed it into what it is today.
And it's funny to think that the stage that's up there, the background behind it, the wall, I mean, basically, just when I had first started, and I think home church had been like about a year, been up and going for about a year. So at that time, there still wasn't all of that additive to the stage. The sound booth didn't have that barrier. So
Right.
just from when I started the changes, and I couldn't, I mean, like the stuff you're talking about, no offices, the bathrooms, the kids and stuff back there, all of that's. Larry had a hand in making sure that and it's weird to think that,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just,
when we first got the building, the stage wasn't even up over there in the front. It was over here on the side.
And a third of the size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
with a
so
little hole in the wall that it looked like you were passing the chips to money through and stuff like
it
that.
was. It was a cashier's.
Yeah, cashier's.
gambling
Yeah.
booth.
Yeah.
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 So
And
just to see how far we've came in just the 2.5 years is crazy.
yeah, November we'll be home
3.
church for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoo.
Yeah.
So what was it? Obviously, DJ, MC, so the sound comes natural.
Yes.
That's and the security. Will, as much as we appreciate it, all that needs to be known about the security is we have it here at home church. There's people watching. You're safe. Don't worry.
Right.
That's so we won't delve into the security side of it as much, but we will go back because we didn't speak on the sleep in heavenly peace.
Okay.
So you and Tanya, obviously, big, 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 big components in that.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about, for those at home church that don't
Sure.
know what sleep in heavenly peace is. Let's talk a little bit about that too.
Okay.
What is it that brought you guys? Is it just because the handyman and it was a bed build? So Larry's like,
Well,
not only am I a DJ, but this handyman stuff kind of flows natural, or were you just kind of handed?
I was originally involved with Sleep in Heavenly Peace at another church that we attended at the time, back about 6 years ago. And they brought the Sleep in Heavenly Peace to that church. We had a chapter president, co-president, which was our pastor and a friend of his, and we was building beds then. Well, once I left that church, I said, I don't feel right, so I backed away from it for a little while. Then we started home church here, and one of the groups that we were in was empty nesters. And that's all folks that kids have already grown up and having their own families and all that. And they said, you know what, we're looking for a project. We need a project. And I said, oh, have I got something for you? Oh, Lord, here we go. So I contacted our regional boss in Kansas City, and she says, you know, God works in mysterious ways, because we was just getting ready to come down next week. That chapter president moved to Colorado, and we was coming to find another chapter president. Are you interested? And I said, I'm calling you, ain't I? And so they sent us to New York to get the president's training. And
How long did you get to spend up there?
I got to spend 3 days up there.
Now, for somebody like you that does have a lot, I mean, it's not like people are something that's going to scare you away. Is that a lot for you? Or is something like New York, it's just a place?
It's a place for me. We went into a little town called Mechanicville, New York, and they was actually having the horse races there that weekend. So trying to get a rental car was crazy. But we went into this Mechanicville, and it's a small town, just like we have plenty of them around here. People were pleasurable, got fed a lot of information in those 3 days. I'm used to it, but my wife was not. So I am the chapter president for Springfield, and I have got to know there's over 300 chapters now in the United States, and it's spreading into Canada and overseas. It is a nonprofit 501c3, so we run strictly off of donations and volunteer help. I don't get paid for my time. I don't get paid for my gas. Nobody does. And involving the youth groups, other people around.
The young adults, we
young
helped
adults,
out
yeah.
a lot, yeah.
Why we have the build days. Fundraising comes fairly natural to me because of the background I've got. But, you know, you can't build anything without the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those that are watching and you're thinking bed build, you see the videos with the saws. I've helped out in a couple now. One was just the first time trying it out.
Mhm.
Second time was trying to get the youth, wrangled up and
Right.
involved in that. And so did have a couple of youth that showed up, and it is a process that junior hires
Yeah.
they could do.
Right.
It's a very smooth process once you let everything get placed where it needs to be, and the Lord has a big hand in that.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's people coming together for him, so he is going to help as much as he can, but it is as much of I don't want to say a foolproof process, because that dulls it down. There is still work that is involved. It's still a process. It's not just it's as cookie cutter as you could get without not having to do manual labor. There is manual labor involved, but it's just a nice assembly line of things, and it's not so much work that it's overbearing, and it's just enough to keep you busy and keep you active. So
Right.
it's nothing to be intimidated. You don't have Larry standing there with a level, measuring everything. Recut it. Recut it.
Recut it.
Recut it. It's not like
Granted,
that.
I did have to recut a bunch of stuff my very first time because I cut it way too long. That was before we got the stencils, and
Yes,
Larry's
yes.
like,
Yeah.
"This isn't gonna work."
There are, like, for the holes to drill and stuff like that, there are stencils. There are, there's a process. Like I said, a nice assembly line, so you don't have to be a carpenter. You don't have to
Right.
have, these amazing building skills.
No.
You just have to have a will and a heart to serve, and it's very simple. Your project could be as simple as moving one board to one side
Right.
in a timely manner to make sure
Right.
there's not a log jam, or your job could be planing something down to make sure that it's smooth. And there are simple things, but they still are big because it's a process that has to run smooth. And
Right.
what was the last time that you did a bed build? How many did you
Keller Williams had their red day. Keller Williams Realtors, thank you, shout out. Um, they actually raised $35,000
Wow.
to build 100 beds.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
wow.
$35,000. They had a auction night, rented out Enterprise Lanes to raise money for Sleep in Heavenly Peace this year. Uh, we've had an issue with the day we were supposed to build those 100 beds. It was going to be raining. Last minute, the head lady over at Keller Williams said, "What's your thoughts?" And I said, "My thoughts is we're either going to get wet or we're going to have to find some place to build these under a roof." And we was fortunate enough that someone knew the manager at Farmers Park, and we built those beds underneath their farmers market pavilion. And these people are phenomenal. We built those 100 beds in about 3.5 hours
That's
with
crazy.
over 150 volunteers.
Wow.
They showed up in droves, and it sounded like a swarm of bees because we had over 50 sanders going, we had drill presses going, we had, as you can see on this board up here, that is actually a brand.
And that is something I forgot. That is actually part of
The assembly lines.
of
the
Yeah.
assembly
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
We didn't know if you would be able to see our nice little SHP flyers there, not in the camera. So Larry went out and got an actual board that is used in the process of making the
Right.
beds. So
And every
think-
bed is branded with the
Yep.
SHP.
Yes.
Yeah.
and so that is an example there of um, people think all the time money, 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 money.
Right.
More importantly than that, people were involved, because here's the thing: money, that pavilion,
Right.
you couldn't have rented that pavilion. It's farmers market.
Right.
They've got it set up for a reason. Nobody could have bought the space to rent
No.
that. You had to know the owner
Right.
of that, and that is what moved them, was generosity, was people. So people seem to think all the time that you have to have money to see God move, and in this instance, God made people move. He got them up, he got them going, and it's
Right.
cool to see that too. Everybody seems to think, like you said, yes, there is money, that without money, this stuff doesn't get purchased. It's not
Right.
like, this stuff is all free. But in the same time, to
Mhm.
see what God did with all these people is just
Yes.
incredible. So you get to see stuff like this all the time, because you also aren't helping build, while you also
Right.
get to see the children, the family that these go to.
Yes.
Right. So, not to cut you
go-
off,
get-
but yeah, like you were saying, if you're not a handyman or you're not into woodworking or something like that, you also do deliveries
Yes.
of the beds that you love having volunteers on and stuff
Oh,
like that.
definitely.
So, unfortunately, every time you guys have delivered, I've had to be at work or we're out of town. But
Right. Well, we have right now 140 beds that we're getting ready to deliver, because it's not just building the beds. We also supply to our applicants the bed frame. We supply the mattress. We supply the bedding, the pillow, and the blanket. So it's an all-encompassing. When we leave your house, that child can go rest.
And a lot of that is from donations here, people at home church. A lot of it comes around Christmas time. There's a tree in the back. You can pick off the tree to sponsor a bed.
Right.
You can sponsor a bed. You can, pick from the tree and pick sheets or whatever the case
Right.
is. So as somebody who sees these kids, and you see the families, you
Mhm.
see the homes, for me that would be either very, very pleasing or very, very heart wrenching.
It's
Um,
both.
so for you, which does the happiness outweigh the heart wrenching, or is it something to me that would I don't know. I say all the time I couldn't do it, but if God needed me to do it, obviously
Right.
you would do it. So that's kind of the heart you've taken towards this. You know that you've
Right.
been called to do this.
Oh, definitely.
The heart, the bad situations, the ones where you go in and the home's just awful, and you drop the bed off and you leave, but yet you still do the one where the family's trying and they're
Right.
trying and they're trying and everybody's just so happy and thankful. But you also see the ones where they're not thankful, and but the kids are the ones that are having to suffer for this lifestyle.
And that's why you have to actually have the mindset it's for the kid.
Yeah.
It's not for the parent. The parent may not be a good parent, but we also deal with caseworkers. And in order for a family to reunite, they have to have a bed to sleep in. And so that caseworker will give us a call and say, hey, I've got this mother and her two children, and we need beds for them so we can actually close this case out and get those kids reunited with their parents. And that's what we do. It's an application process just like anybody else. My wife vets every single one of them to where we make for sure that the beds are going where they need to go. Not just somebody that's always going, gimme, gimme, gimme. No. If they have a need for it, we'll make for sure that they get that bed taken care of. We had a huge, besides the Keller Williams part of it, building those 100 beds, we had another ladies group that did a drive, and about 2 weeks ago, I ended up picking up over 100 sets of bed sheets, pillows, and blankets from these folks. And they're not even a 501c3. They're just a group of women that want to help out.
That's really cool.
It is. It is. And if you get to thinking about all the people it takes to actually put all this together, and you mentioned the delivery
Right.
part of it. Okay, after we build, then we vet the applications. I call them, I route them, and we take a group of 3 or 4 people. And that's the nice part about it is, if you don't have any build skills, way to go. Do you know how to carry? Do you know how to talk to people?
I was gonna say, I mean, if you can talk to kids,
Yeah.
if you can, somehow relate to the parents, if you can go in and get the parents, a conversation about Christ started up in
Oh,
the
definitely.
household, that's something else that you could do.
Yeah, and we have people. We have a person that will talk with the family. We love having the young kids here going in with us, helping us haul in, talking to the kids that are actually receiving these beds. And yeah, we do carry Bibles, and even though Sleep in Heavenly Peace and Home Church are not
The same entity.
the same
Yeah.
entity, we have people that, do you need a Bible? Do you know what the Bible even means? And so they get to talk to them while we're putting the bed together, and then seeing the kids' faces afterwards. We've actually had some people come to home church after we've delivered beds to them and led them to Christ. And, to me, that's everything.
That's what it's about,
It
honestly.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just because I've always had this question and always forget to ask you, you guys make single beds and bunk beds, correct?
These are made to where they are twin beds. And if I find out that we need to do a bunk, these are actually to where you can flip over the bed and stack it on top of the other one. And the ladder is actually built in to the footboard.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't have to have extra ladders. We put up the side rails.
That's cool.
And so, yeah, we can make bunk beds out of them just by flipping them over.
So you said that there's 300 chapters in the U.S. alone.
Yes.
So how big is your guys' chapter? Like, how much ground do you guys care?
We cover, we go by zip code,
Okay.
and we cover about 7 zip codes right now.
Wow.
And the Marshfield chapter's covering 9 zip codes, I believe.
Wow.
We have a Table Rock chapter, and they're covering 8 or 9 zip codes. And so yeah, we cover, and we didn't choose all the zip codes in the area because we chose the zip codes that we knew there was probably going to be the most need.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever you say a chapter, is this an organization that just the community comes together? Is it another church, like kind of what Home Church has done? They have a leader kind of like you, and it doesn't matter. Or I was just curious to know, is that how that is? It just like something that they put up in the local market, and you can just they have a meeting, or how does it work when you say there's different chapters in area codes?
Oh, different chapters. Oh, okay. So with each chapter, why you pick your zip codes. Okay. Anybody can go out and fill out an application. Go online at shpbeds.org, and underneath there it says apply for a bed. Click on it. There's also places that you can click on that are for volunteering, for donating. It's fully tax deductible for these folks to donate to.
So here at Home Church, we're just so used to the fact that they put it on the announcements, or Clayton will say, so it would be no different. So if somebody were to sign up, we could potentially, they could show up here and sign up through our sheets. So I'm so used to, well, that's
true.
That's how
SHP is just second nature to us
at
now.
Home Church, we just they put it on the announcements, and you show up and you sign in. There is a sign-in process for those that haven't.
Yeah, first time you have to sign a waiver and all that fun
and all
stuff.
of that fun stuff. So I just took that for granted that everybody would know that. And then so that's kind of why I asked that, because I was like, for those that may not know the process of how to sign up for that, that is the process of how you, if for those of you that don't attend Home Church and you're just watching this and you want to see if there's one in your area, that is the process that you would take to go through. So that way you could find out how you could build a bed and help volunteer.
Right.
And we do have non-Home Church people that I have a list of.
I was going to say, the last bed build, I saw like 10 people that I didn't even know coming up and wanting to help out. So.
But they're, a lot of them are retired folks that they say, hey, we want to help build or we want to help deliver, but we don't necessarily want to attend your church because we're happy with the church we've got. And I said, you don't have to be a part of Home Church to come out and help. You can, I'll let you know whenever we're doing it, and you come out.
Right.
We've got another bed build coming up with the anesthesiology group of Missouri. I'll have anesthesiologists standing out back here building beds.
Are they bringing anything with them?
Well, the Ether Bunny is not coming yet.
So it's pretty cool to know. I mean, I knew that there were people that showed up that didn't attend Home Church, but I thought they were just, family members of people, that attended Home Church. But that's cool to know that there are people that are from different places.
Yeah, the
that
community is
up.
getting involved. It's really,
and
really
that's
cool
part
to
of
see.
what Home Church is about, is community. So, but that's a huge outreach. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think one last question for Sleep in Heavenly Peace before we transition back into your story, Larry. From start to finish, how long does it take through the application process to where the kids actually receive the bed? I know you guys have a waiting list, like 3 days long, but
yeah, it's over 300 right now. With us finally building up this chapter, we do have money in the bank. We have a huge donation fund through Lowe's. They actually donate to each chapter $4,000 every 6 months.
that's cool.
And we're getting ready to do Bunks Across America, and they'll also supply us with another $2,000. And then that money is to be used at the local Lowe's. They will also discount our lumber, even though they're giving us the money.
They discounted even more.
They discounted even
that's
more.
Cool. Yeah.
And so, we made the comment earlier, these beds aren't free.
Right.
What does it cost if you were to put an average amount,
Mhm.
what does it cost if obviously the time is volunteered,
Right.
but a bed, what is one of those average?
The complete
By the time it has a mattress, a
Right.
sheet, and everything on it.
With everything included, we figure $250 a bed.
And so at $250 a bed, you have 300 applicants.
Right.
That's
That's math I don't even want to do right now.
yeah, no. But I'm just saying, like that also is a benefactor for people just saying, why aren't you just making beds for everybody that needs them? First of
Right.
all, everybody that fills out an application isn't going to be deserving.
No.
Out of X amount of applicants that Tanya receives,
hmm
how many of them out of that would you say are just people wanting a handout?
You'll find, and it's crazy because the people that we do service to are in the lower income establishments. And I don't mean that bad by anybody, it's just they can't afford one.
Right.
But we've had 20 to 25% of the applicants that will be denied. Plain and simple. They've either applied before, received our product, and then they moved and did not take it with them. So, yeah, it's sad to even see that.
Yeah, and
So is that pretty standard across all chapters, about 20 to 25%, or is it
Yeah.
higher depending on the
Uh,
chapter?
The bigger the city,
Mhm.
we've got a chapter in Chicago, and yeah, they most of theirs they just go right on through them. But what we have to watch for, and that's why my wife's so good at it on the vetting end of it, is she can recognize the name and say, "Oh, you've
Mhm.
applied before," or say somebody is in a shelter. Well, we cannot put one in a shelter.
Yeah.
People have also put down, because we only make twin beds, people put down, well, my son's 16 and he needs a full size bed or a queen size bed. No, we don't do those. We're very streamlined in what we do to make the process so much easier. And keep in mind, they're not paying for them. So we're trying to do a service or a justice to the children.
Right.
Because with myself being a teacher in the past, my wife was in middle school as a teacher. She dealt with the transient population. And so that's where
Your
her
guys'
heart,
passion comes from.
yeah, that's where the passion comes from. Whenever I was in fire and EMS, why, I'd go into these homes and the kids would be sleeping on a blanket in the closet, or they'd have to take turns on who got the couch that night. And so, yeah, I've seen it firsthand even before I ever got into sleep in heavenly peace. And, again, you got to think of it, it's for the kids.
and not to try to change the subject really, but I mean, whenever Larry talks about doing for and helping, I work at James Automotive, and we had a lady come in that had an expensive repair. Larry and his wife, it was one of their friends. They took care of the repair. So whenever he talks about helping, he's not making this up. I mean, he
No.
is a gentleman that goes above and beyond. So one thing that people don't understand is, and I think Dana really delve into this, talking about making decisions that people don't want to make.
Right.
People don't want to say no to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I would call it a blessing, because for somebody like me, it's hard to say no.
Right.
You have to have that ability. You can't, like we said, just give a bed to everybody. They're
Right.
not free. So that is something that is. Can you tell? Does it bother Tanya, or is she just so good at being able to tell? It's worn on her after time, and
It has worn on her.
She's just so in tune now to who's deserving and who's not,
Right.
that it's
It's
just kind of
easier.
her. It's just another.
Yeah, whenever she's talking to these families, why, always a week prior, and I'll get back to your
Yeah.
answer here in just a second. she'll talk to him, and she has such a servant's heart that uh, she's heard about every excuse why somebody needs a bed. Uh, but she can tell after a while, whenever it's actually pulling on her heartstrings, um, we need to get this taken care of pretty quick. Um, and so I'll put them at the front of the line if she deems so necessary. From start to finish, you're talking 2 to 3 months.
Wow.
By the time you raise the money,
Organize the bed build and get through
organize the bed
applications.
build, and
Yeah.
then I have to buy my mattresses 27 at a time.
Wow.
They come on a pallet, and right now we have 3 storage units, and 2 out here and 1 over by the house. And then once you know you've got all that, then you start making the calls. Then you organize your delivery groups, and not just anybody can go out and build, because they have to be built to a certain standard, because we don't want lawsuits.
Yeah, you don't want a kid falling off the bed.
No,
and
we don't want
hurting
them falling
themselves
off.
or
We don't
it
want
falling
them falling
apart.
through it.
Yeah.
So it takes about 2 to 3 months from start to finish.
And so, as I know, obviously, a business like the automotive is different than something of this nature. But as far as appointments and scheduling and getting things worked together in a timely manner and making sure that all your ducks are in a row,
Mhm.
there's a process you have to take. And I know that there is a fine tuning of a process.
There is.
So there's failures in these processes
Yes.
every once in a while. Now, it's not everything is a failure, but there is going to be that one person that
Mhm.
does this thing. So in that 2 month process, there's a lot that can go wrong,
Oh yeah.
and there's a lot that can go right. Obviously,
Right.
they receive the bed. So in those 2 month processes, trips and falls and all of that stuff out of the beds that you've delivered, out of all
Mhm.
of these things in that 2 month process, how many of those, even though they make it to the final process,
Mhm.
still have a hitch and a giddy up, even though the bed's been made and all of that stuff? What percentage would you say of what you make and deliver?
Well, we had a issue. Uh, yeah, if someone, while my wife's talking to him, says, "Well," because we normally try to deliver on Saturdays, because that's when we can get our most people together. If someone says, "Well, I work on Saturdays," well, that's a plus. You're working. Thank you. You're at least trying
Right.
Yeah.
to make life go. So I'll work around that. We had some folks that it's very hard whenever you're trying to talk to a deaf person on the phone, if you've never figured that out. Hard to talk to a deaf person on the phone.
That's where FaceTime comes in handy.
Yeah. Well, my wife kept trying to get a hold of this one over Northwest, and she finally ended up having to go through email to talk to these folks, because both the mother and father were deaf, and they both worked on Saturdays, and I don't know sign language, and so I had to take a dry erase board and had one of the guys that helps me out on construction. We had to deliver on like a Thursday morning or a Friday morning. So before we went and did the job, we delivered 4 beds up 4 floors, and with my little dry erase board, we'd communicate that way.
But it's important that people understand that there are going to be kinks in a process.
Oh, sure.
So you would, I as me, if you were to just go to the simple mind, you would see Sleep in Heavenly Peace, Christian organization. This thing's just
Yeah.
butter. It's no different than worship.
No.
You would think, though, as beautiful as worship turns out, that it was just smooth as butter the whole time. There's a
Oh, yeah.
process that goes behind fine tuning. Like I said, not being in that exact industry, that there are going to be flaws in systems.
Right.
There's going to be something that you're going to burn yourself on every
Right.
once in a while, and you're going to learn from that. You're going to
Yes.
say, like Tanya, okay, I know this situation, I've seen it before.
Mhm.
I know it. This has hurt me before. I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to go to the Lord on this.
Right.
Instead of what do I need to do? She's like, I need to go to my heart. And so she goes to her heart, hey, Larry, this one needs to be moved ahead.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
That one tugged on your heartstrings. Tanya went to the Lord
Right.
instead of, because she's been scorned before.
Sure.
So these processes, although they aren't going to be perfect, they may seem like they're perfect, and that takes willing people. So we'll transition this into the worship side of things, because I don't think people tend to understand, as beautiful as worship is, what it takes for the guy on sound, what it takes for the people that come in early, and all of this stuff.
Right.
The grind that they go through to get there, because it does just seem like it's effortless. It does seem like they sing so beautifully.
Right.
Slides just go, I mean, the backgrounds, these cool little intro videos. But one thing that I like that Mandy's also shown about the announcement videos is that there are flaws in those announcement videos.
Yes.
And we can speak.
Yeah, because it took us 3 hours to do 4
Yeah,
videos.
and I was. I mean, we were gonna try to be helpful with Mandy, because we were like,
Right. Tate was just boring.
Yeah,
She
Tate
seemed
was
like
just
she was
born,
a little
you know, and I
overwhelmed
was like,
stuff like that. Yeah.
it'll be. I'm not gonna say easy, but like the podcast just kind of seems so
S- s-
smooth.
You would think it would be the same
And
way.
it's
No,
difficult.
when you have a script that you have to read,
Right.
100%
So
different.
even though you have to be prepared, like Clayton said, for the Holy Spirit to move in church, for somebody who's in the sound, you're constantly having to have a fine-tuned ear and be on the ready at all times.
Right.
And like we're not gonna delve into it, but being part of security, whenever that's going on, you have to be. You can't be in your phone. You can't be. You have to be listening. You have to be ready for whatever the atmosphere's got going
Right.
on. So you're somebody who is on the ready at all times. But
Yes.
whenever we do have these practices, they're not smooth.
No.
What are some things for you that you would let people know whenever they come in and they listen to all of this? As we know, God's moving in it all.
Right.
But what are some things that you would, behind the scenes, give some people advice about being a guy on sound that affect your morning?
Well, and Tanya and I have both had these conversations over and over and over again, because she says, well, why won't you sit with me? I said, I have chairs right back there that you're more than welcome to sit with me whenever I'm back there. I'm back there for a couple reasons. I don't do good sitting in a chair listening to someone talk. I don't do that. I get more out of a service because I have to pay attention sitting back there doing sound, standing back there doing security end of it. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but I can get deep into worship and still control that board at the same time.
I've seen it numerous times
Oh,
because
yeah.
I serve with you a lot more.
I am back there enjoying myself, listening to a final product that we know took blood, sweat, and tears to
Right.
get to.
You know it's hitting different when Larry's up there going like this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
One of the things, for those of you that are watching, I know we've had a lot recently of people in the media, people step up in the media team. We gave a shout out to Corinne for being a woman and stepping up back there because of the men being in base camp.
Yeah.
Her sole purpose for stepping up was because last year JB goes, man, this is just really difficult for us to wake up Sunday morning 2 hours away to get here,
Right.
and prepare for
Right.
this, because 90% of the media team is at base camp.
Right.
And so she stepped up and she was like, hey, if there's anything I can do and I can at least help one person alleviate from back there that could stay at base camp longer, let me know. And so she stepped up and did that. But for those of you that are watching and you're like, hey, the media team is something that I've inspired, I've felt inspired to do, but, kind of just been on the edge about it. One of the things that I loved, my story involves you and JB heavily, because I came in to do youth one night.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't here. They
Loved
were
it.
at Putt Putt,
Yep.
but I was willing and able, and you guys were so friendly. You brought me in. Tuesday nights became very fun for me because
Right.
it was just you and JB doing those practices
Yeah.
for a very long time. So not only do you have your business, not only do you have Sleep in Heavenly Peace, you're also back there on the soundboard every night from basically 6 o'clock until 8:30. We
Yeah.
generally wrap up.
Hmm.
And so that was where I made the comment earlier. There's been practices where Larry said, "Hey,
Gotta go.
I got a client calling me right now. I got to head out.
Right.
Their water pipe bust or something."
Right.
So the processes that you have to go through not only to just get work and stuff finished, but be here in a timely manner so that way you can run the sound.
Right.
You made the comment about how, being back there, you can really get into worship.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that I love about Tuesday nights, is it's relaxed. It's a relaxed atmosphere for the practice. But B, you can get lost in the worship because you're not worried about slides per se.
Right.
You are, but you just get to listen to it because it's not that it's not serious,
Right.
but they really get a feel for their songs. You really get to hear them sort of together for the
It feels
first
a little
time.
bit more intimate and stuff like that
Yeah.
on
It
Tuesday.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How Tuesday nights for a hot minute for me whenever I was struggling with my worldly ways was a nuisance because I wanted to be in bed or I wanted to be doing my own thing.
Right.
So here I am. I have to take time out of my day, and more recently, it's just been more of like a spa day because you get to come in to this relaxed atmosphere and you get to listen to them go through their steps, go through their processes, and you can get lost in it.
Easily.
Has there ever been a time for you whenever it was a release for a Tuesday night?
Oh, definitely. We had to, whenever we first started home church, the practices weren't on Tuesday nights. And the reason being,
Wednesday.
yeah, they were on Wednesdays because I was still teaching night fire classes at OTC on Tuesday and Thursdays. And so I would have to miss all the practices and then just hop in on my Sundays and
The story of my life there,
oh,
boys.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I retired about a year and a half ago now from OTC, and that freed up my Tuesday nights. And Tanya tried coming with me once or twice, and she says, "I don't know how you do it. They're going to be singing this Sunday. I'll just listen to it Sunday." So I come by myself. Or JB and Jessica only have one car, so I may pick up JB or I may take him home. Who knows? It's a fun time, and we work out a lot of kinks on that night. We may have a cable that's bad, or we may want to change up microphones or do some adjusting. That gives us our prep time to do what you said earlier, make Sunday morning look flawless.
And I want to go back to this example that we have. So, and we're not making fun of Zach at all whenever I say this because Zach works
Oh,
second
maybe a
shift.
little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Zach works second shift, so for him to make it to practice, he can't. But Zach also works in the media team. So, as somebody who comes on a Tuesday night for practice, you just said fine tuning makes everything, makes it seem flawless. Zach, you just made the comment, that's my story. So, as somebody who isn't here on a Tuesday night and you come in, even though they do run through the songs, and it helps you kind of get acclimated, okay, these are the songs that we have, is it stressful, would you say, coming in? I shouldn't say stressful, but have you, because I just don't know, have you ever been to a Tuesday night practice and then served?
No.
So,
The only time I think I've ever been to a practice and then served the following Sunday was back at Venture.
Right.
So I don't think I've ever actually been to a home church practice. For me, I mean, starting media back at Venture and then pretty much the same group being here is, I mean, pretty flawless. We have it down to kind of a fine science
Yes.
now, unless we're doing a new song or Mandy or Dana try to,
Change things up.
change things up. No offense to them or anything
no,
like that,
Lord,
but
no.
and
Yeah.
or they follow the Holy Spirit and they go on, we're gonna do it again, and then I gotta scroll all the way back up. But luckily we have the headphones now to where I can hear Leonard, and he's pretty good about saying, "Hey, we're gonna do the chorus again," or
Right.
go back to whatever we need to go back to. So they're really good at communicating and trying to make it as easy
Right.
as possible, and vice versa. So
And that
we
was
have
a
a really
bad
good team on
example.
both ends. I mean, it wasn't a bad question or a bad example. It's just the hardest part for me, honestly, serving in the media team is having to be here at like 6:45 in the morning. So,
Yeah,
but other
yeah.
than that,
yeah.
I mean, it's a blast. I would invite anybody new if you're thinking about
Oh yeah.
serving in any capacity. Just take us that first initial step,
Mhm.
whether it's back there with the kids, being on the media team, greeting, or anything else that we have. Just take that first step. No one's gonna judge you.
Right.
No one's gonna do anything. If you try it out and be like, "Hey, this isn't for me," well, at least you tried.
You tried. Yeah.
Your heart's in the right place, and more than likely, you'll be like the rest of us and end up serving on like 7 different teams.
Yeah.
So, it,
Yeah, but see, even though you are working and you're not able to make the practices, both of you guys, we do have it down to a fine stream. Okay, both of you guys make it look so simple. Whenever you just walk in and go, "Oh, we need to change those slides up." Okay, oh, we're done. I'm like, okay. There's guys. I have ran every single part of that back there at Venture. And I have chosen, because I don't know all the rest of the broadcast end of it. I don't know the pro presenter part of it. I don't know the lights part of it. I'll hang the lights, I'll wire the lights, somebody else gets to program them.
and
Because,
yeah, that's where I find the most fun is programming all the lights
Yeah.
and all that fun stuff. There's a reason why I was a lighting director back at Venture. I mean, the fact that Rick and why am I forgetting her name? Rick's wife. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
I forgot her name.
We're gonna cut to a commercial real quick.
yeah, we'll be back after these messages.
I'm terrible with names, and I'm sorry, but the fact that they trusted me enough to create lights and the lighting design and stuff like that.
Right.
Granted, the chevrons were always the chevrons and stuff like that. Couldn't mix that up, but the fact that they let me choose the colors and the backgrounds and all that stuff was really really cool and helped me get, I think, the whole church experience started up again and
Right.
made me feel comfortable and stuff like that. And the fact that we were able just to carry it over here into home church
yeah.
and get it more intimate, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah,
Not
I
that
agree.
Venture wasn't intimate, but here it feels like you're coming home
Right.
and hanging out with your family versus, just some big mega church or something like
Right.
that. Not that there's anything wrong with them or anything
And
like that.
we all have
but-
our own callings.
right.
I choose to stay on sound. Love sound. I mean, shoot, I have 8 sound systems at the house. So building the sound systems, running the sound system, this one's a little intimidating because I didn't know until we had our class how to do a lot of the routing and stuff like that. I knew how to make it sound right, and that was it. And and whenever you see me back there and I'm getting deep into the worship, you'll see all my fingers just sitting on the faders, and my eyes are closed. I'm listening. I'm enjoying.
The maestro.
Yeah. And then here we go, and I'm just moving them as I need to. Don't even have to look down.
He's got it like a keyboard now to where he's just typing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Mozart.
yeah. But that's what I felt I've been called to do.
And so I want to dive into your story. Did you have any more questions? or
No, I
anything?
mean, not that I can think of. We'll go this way just because I'm curious.
Sure.
Granted, we're not going to talk about security and who's on it and stuff like that. Just need to know that we have the team in place
Right.
and that if you guys come here and you feel safe, you know that we're doing our job.
Right.
If something happens and you guys don't realize it, we did our job.
Right.
So, all that fun stuff. So, how many teams do you serve on?
Here I serve on media. I'm the maintenance guy, security, sleep in heavenly peace, and I'm also on the finance committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? If you had to pick.
I'm going to go with media. You know it because I'll talk a little bit later whenever we talk about jobs and stuff like that. I've got a few things I would love to say about that to hopefully
Yeah.
help people out in their future endeavors. But sound and lights, oh, oh. I live for sound and lights. My wife says, you know every word to every song from 1970 to now. And I said, only the ones I want to.
And I think I'm the same way as you.
Yeah.
Lights and sound, just there's something awe-inspiring about that.
Yeah, because I'm not into sports. You guys know that.
But the fact that Caitlin's up there singing and worshiping and stuff like that,
Right.
and then being back there and being able to, just in my opinion, back her up to where she can do that,
Mhm.
and watching her in her element is just
It's mesmerizing.
yeah, it's just insane. And every time she gets up there and sings and stuff like that, I feel myself not only falling deeper in love with her and stuff like that, but I feel like I get closer to God,
Mhm.
and that it's just proving to me that, everything I've been praying for the last 32 years, it has now come into fruition and stuff like that. So it's just amazing to see all that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I completely understand what you're saying with and the lights and the lyrics and the sound and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because I started building sound systems whenever I was 11, and started DJing whenever I was 16. So, yeah, I'm having some fun.
So we're gonna go ahead and go into. We'll start off there at the 10 and 11. One of the things that we talked about with Zach on the podcast last week, his intro to serving in church was um, exactly what you said. Everything that you guys have talked about, the sound and the lights.
Right.
Zach really, that's what interested him, and so he was able to bring that into church. And like you said, he's able to make it seem effortless because it's what he enjoys,
Right.
and he's letting God's gift work through him. So we go into Larry's story, and we obviously the sound. You just made the comment, 11 years old. You made
Yeah.
your first soundboard, so that's where we're going to go ahead and step into right there. You talk about your childhood and the soundboard and stuff like
Right.
that. So what was your childhood like, and what brought you to soundboards? How did soundboards just kind of enter its way into your life?
Oh, it's a very interesting story. If you have Kleenexes at home, just go ahead and get them out.
I'm crying.
Good, good. I was born and raised very Free Will Baptist. So, as a baby, every time the doors were open, I was there. My folks in one of our church, because we planted churches, so we'd go to one for a little while, it'd get built up, time to go build another one. And so we started out with, handful of people, get 100, 150 people, regular attendance, time to go to another church. And my mom is a big piano player and singer, and she was raised assemblies. She can tickle those ivories like nobody's business. My dad, he can't carry a tune in a wet paper sack. But he was always good at hauling stuff. So they had at one church in Fairgrove, they decided to have a bluegrass gospel band, and we toured quite a bit. And so they was running a little old PV 6-channel analog board and a mandolin and piano and electric, just an acoustic guitar at the time. And so, hey, I learned on that board. I love analog because I can make it do what it's supposed to do without having to go through all these
high techie stuff.
high techie virtual channel stuff, which I still love. But I got into it, got very interested in electronics, and yes, I did tear a few boards apart just to see how they worked. And whenever I started to go through high school, Zenith was still in town, and I had 9 relatives that worked at Zenith. They said, if you're interested in it, let's get you in here and get you as an engineer. I was supposed to go to work for Zenith in the after I got done with college. Um, so yes, I've tore a lot of electronics up just to find out what was inside. Folks didn't like it too much because I tore up a lot of stuff. Um,
But let's talk about that.
yeah,
Like that's something people are afraid to do, right?
right,
You wanted to learn, so you were able to get past the fact that hey, this may not go back together
right,
the way that it was,
and it
but I'm
didn't.
gonna find out what's inside of here because
Right,
eventually I'm gonna have to know this stuff.
right,
Eventually, there's gonna be a point in time where I'm going to have to fail at something, so you can avoiding it. You
right,
could keep not wanting to open it, but until you open it and see what's inside of it and fix the issue or what I mean,
right.
even if there's not an issue with it, you wanted to know what was inside of it. What did it look like? It
Mhm.
looks okay, so everything works good. This is what it looks like when it works good. All right, you found out stuff like that at a young age.
Right.
Has that always come natural to you? Not afraid to fail at something?
Oh yeah, I mean, if I was afraid to fail, I can just sit at home because I fail every day.
Right?
Uh,
Been failing since '91.
yeah. um, I was also raised in a time being Baptist that we had the backwards masking, and I don't know if you know what backwards masking is.
No.
Mm-mm.
It's a song that is played backwards, and it has a message in it. And apparently, it was supposed to be a satanic message that if you
Oh,
listen to
okay,
it
yeah,
backwards.
yeah.
So, what did I do? I had a record player because all my family worked at Zenith and I could get my stuff reasonable. And I created a backward spinning turntable to where I could listen to these vinyl records and see what they said. And there's classes on it. It's all kinds of stuff like that. But I was brought into the no, you really don't need to be listening to this music because it's the devil's music. You really need to watch um, what these particular messages are trying to say, but you got to play them backwards to check it. And so that's what I did on all my vinyl records. I created a turntable that would play backwards, and I don't know if there's ever anything really to it. You can hear about whatever you want. And especially in today's day and age of digital and AI, we can create whatever we want somebody to hear. But back then, we didn't have that stuff. I got my first computer in '84, and it was supposedly a portable unit, but it wouldn't fit on this table, and I had to use big floppies to keep my storage up. And today, just in our phones, we've got more technology in those than what it took to put the first man on the moon. But yeah, I've always played with that stuff. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm afraid to fail miserably. I'm gonna fail, and I use that in my personal life. I use that in my business life. Um, know you're gonna fail, and don't be afraid to fail because failures make perfection the way it's supposed to be.
And I think that goes back. You just made the comment business.
Hmm.
We'd asked Zach, how is your work?
Hmm.
And Zach just said flawless, loved it, seamless. That takes time.
Yes.
It didn't become seamless overnight. I'm sure if you were Zach's very first customer, he may have had a different story. The very first job.
Right.
His heart was there, but there was this and this. Now you can look at the you can look at the work and be like, oh man, this guy he knows what he's doing.
Right.
With that, there comes a what are your worth.
Right.
People don't seem to understand that it takes time, it takes money, it takes failing
Right.
to get to the point that you're at. And so going back to business kind of,
Yeah.
with the automotive, those guys have taken a long time to learn their craft.
Right.
You've taken a long time to learn your craft. You failed.
Right.
So, you talk about prices and stuff like that. That's got to
Yeah.
be something as, obviously cost and inflation,
Right.
we won't get into, politics and stuff like that, but inflation's obviously there.
Sure.
your business, you talk about failing and you talk about whenever COVID and all this stuff happened,
Hmm.
you have through your businesses, have there ever been a time where you were like, man, this business may not?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm I'm fortunate in a sense. I'm actually third generation contractor. So my dad, grandpa, my uncles were all builders. We built subdivisions, and I can go back right now, and grandpa kept ledgers on every single house to know the exact cost, and they wouldn't cut any corners. You always had to build something proper. If it cost you an extra $1.25 for that other board, put it in. If it cost you another 50 cents for the extra nails, put them in. Don't make something that you're not afraid to put your name on. And I still, to this day, if I'm remodeling a house, I go back to that old adage, and I will actually write my name and the date in the wall or on the floor because I'm proud to put my name on it. I didn't do it on your your furnace, but
I wish I would have wrote something underneath our flooring when we got it done.
Yeah.
That would have been hilarious. But
And so we'll talk about failing in your other business, being a DJ. So it's not easy to go to a wedding,
no.
and if you're emceeing and even DJing, if you have one little hiccup,
Mhm.
the bride is gonna come unglued. And I think all of us at this couch know better than to say how our wives were on the wedding day. You were so wonderful, each and every one of you, on the wedding day. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
you when I say this, but if I were to be another person and tell a story, I was afraid of my wife and what was going to happen failure wise on wedding day. I
Mhm.
wasn't worried about it myself, but I was like, if something doesn't come right like she wants it to, she's gonna lose it. And I was like,
the only
Yeah.
thing that went wrong on our wedding day is that my suspenders wouldn't stay buckled, and
Yes.
we took way too long for our pictures, so Caitlin didn't get as many as she wanted with the
Right.
girls. But other than that,
And I always tell the prospective bride and groom, I said, now there's going to be issues. We're going to work through them, but the only ones that are even going to know it are you guys and me. That's the only ones. Everybody else is going to have fun, whether I'm officiating or whether I'm DJing or MCing. We've had power outages in the whole city that I couldn't play nothing. Had no power. I played the wrong song. I played a song that triggered the bride from a request that somebody else had brought in. I've allowed one of the pastors to sing to her own track, and the bride and groom are going, "What is this?" And I've actually said the wrong last name too. So yeah, I've got a lot of failures in that.
so we'll go back into your story, but I just wanted people
Yeah.
to understand that, you see Larry's work, you see the good work that he does. If you've ever used them in a wedding, like Zach has said, everything was, he was very pleased. You're going to fail.
Mhm.
The difference between the people that are okay with it and not are the ones that are willing to pursue whatever that is. So
Right.
you wanted to pursue these things, you're going to have to fail, and that's something that you're going to have to understand. And a lot of people think you have to want it bad enough, and that's true. You do have to want it bad enough.
Right.
But there's also going to be failures. There's also going to be
Mhm.
stuff that's going to come along the way that you're going to be like, why do I do this? So
Mhm.
we'll go back into the younger, the zenith and all of that
Mhm.
stuff. So as this is your plan. You're coming out of college. Where'd you go to college at?
DeVry.
DeVry, and where's
Yeah.
that?
Kansas City.
So you are in this point in life. What's Larry's life like? Where he's just coming out of college. He's supposed to be working at Zenith.
Yep.
How are things? What's life like for you?
Well, the reason I ended up going to DeVry was because at my age, the draft was over. You still had to sign up at 18. I went to DeVry a week after I got out of high school because my folks did not want the draft to be reenacted and me go into the military. So they said, you got your choice. You either go to college or you're going to Canada. One of the two. And Dad says,
E.
yeah, A. So we decided DeVry was where I was gonna go, and then as soon as I got back, Zenith moved to Mexico.
Now, what was your? I know obviously you have to make a choice at this
Uh-huh.
time, Canada or college, and you're like, I'm going to college. In
Yeah.
your mind, what were you going to be in college? And when you start college,
Mhm.
were you going to stay? Did you stay on that path, or did you in a midway kind of slip? So, what
No,
was your mindset going into it? What were you wanting to do?
I stayed with it because I was supposed to be an electronic engineer for Zenith to design
Okay.
new TVs, new radios, all the stuff that Zenith did. I was supposed to be in design. And so I am an electronic engineer and also computer science through DeVry. And I got back here, and Dad says, well, are you going to Mexico to work for your uncle? Because my uncle ended up running the Mexico plant. Yeah. I had 9 relatives that worked at Zenith. So I was going to work for Zenith. Because Dad told me, he said, 2 things I never want you to be. He said, I never want you to be a firefighter, and I never want you to be a contractor. You need to work with your head and not with your hands. How well did that work out? So my
Did he also
path-
tell you not to grow a beard? And,
Yeah.
Never get a tattoo.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get my first tattoo till I was 40. But I had my hair grown out. I was kind of a rambunctious Baptist. Whenever I got old enough, I did the wrong things in life.
And so
He was a Baptist on Rumspringer.
Yes.
this is something that's really interested me as of late, and obviously having Willow, so that's probably sparked it up in my mind a lot lately. That aspect of younger,
Hmm.
you're in church your whole life. I mean, we brought it up during Zach's podcast. You hit a point where it's college era,
Right.
and it's like a free bird.
Right.
You know, you can kind of do what you want. So you made the comment you were kind of rambunctious. Do you relate that to being pinned back? Or would you just say that obviously somebody that's not afraid to fail, you were like, hey, I mean, it's
Yeah.
what's it gonna hurt?
Well, I was originally baptized at 5. Okay. Now, whenever I became the little hellion I was as mid-teen, every time there was a baptism at the creek, I got dunked. Once saved, always saved. But my folks kept saying, well, we've got to dunk the hell out of you. Literally.
Held you under a little longer than
Yeah,
everybody
you
else.
know, yeah.
Be gone, Satan!
Yeah, but every time there was a baptism at the church, I had to be baptized to try to get the Holy Spirit back into me. And it's not that I didn't have it. It's just, and you'll find out there is no book out there how to raise a child. So my folks did the best they thought they could possibly do to, they even moved us out of Springfield because I was supposed to be going into Central School. And so they moved us to Ebenezer to get us away from the gangs, drugs, and violence. And I went to Willard School. Well, I now knew where all the kids in Springfield got all their drugs. It was from all the country people. Okay, there was
They took you right to the source of
right
it.
to the source. 120 acres of prime growing ground right next to us. It was, and I'm not saying I haven't done a lot of things that I shouldn't have, but the way I look at life is no regrets. No regrets. If you screwed up, take the punishment and go on about life. If you screwed up and you don't take the punishment and you don't learn from it, you're doing yourself and everyone around you a disservice. I've been humbled over the years, having 3 daughters of my own. Yeah, I look back and I'm going, it wasn't in the manual. How was I supposed to handle this? And as your child gets older, you're going to figure that out too.
Oh yeah, and it's not necessarily trying to. It's not that it's worrying me or it's bothering. In a
Right.
sense, it's just understanding that it's a common trend. There's no manual to it,
No.
and that's the best part. Is you think you can do it your way, but it's not your way. So
Right.
we'll cut back into Larry's story. So as you're moved away from Springfield
Right.
to Willard,
Hmm.
does that affect you? Because we didn't move out because of that reason, but in sixth
Right.
grade year I was moved. So I had all of my elementary friends. You're kind of starting out.
Hmm.
You go to new grounds, new stomping
Right.
grounds. So you're starting off high school in Willard. Did that upset you at all, or was it just kind of we moved to Willard type of?
Hey, I actually moved 19 times the first 13 years of my life.
Oh wow, okay.
And it was always down the street because the houses sold better whenever they were occupied. So I was used to moving. And we moved on to 16 acres, got a few head of cows, and always did hay out there, and rode my mini bike out in the back field, and built fence, and did the manual labor farm stuff. I mean, that was not a problem. And so I've always had a job, and whether it be on the farm or a neighbor's farm or the vet next door, or whenever I got to drive, Dad gave me a riddle. He said, "You got to have a job to get a car, and you got to have a car to get a job. So you figure that riddle out, and we'll work with it." And I didn't have enough savings at the time to, because I don't know if you know this or not, but working for family on a farm, you don't get paid. That's the roof over your head. That's the clothes on your back. That's the food in your belly.
I had a rich aunt, so God bless me as a kid, man. I had a rich aunt. Now,
Yeah.
later in life, she took advantage of the government, but hey, so
Right.
they're not getting my PlayStation back. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
right now. She got me. Yeah,
Well,
it's mine now.
anything I wanted. Um, of course, I love the shooting sports, and I love anything to do with guns and shooting anything. Um, so my dad did not teach me how to shoot. If I wanted something over and above the normal everyday stuff, I had to shoot for it. And my mom is the one that taught me to shoot. She is a bearcat when it comes to weapons and ammunition. So one day apparently I was blind in junior high, and they finally got me glasses. Well, back in the day, it was always four eyes or some kids making fun of you doing something. And so I told Mom, I said, "Mom, I'd really like to have contacts." She goes, "Really? You think you want them, huh? Well, they're awful expensive." And I said, "Well, I'm willing to work for them." She goes, "How about you shoot for it?" I said, "See the end of the stick down there in the burn barrel?" "Yeah."
Making a blind kid shoot a stick,
Well,
bro. Come on.
I had glasses. I just wanted contacts.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I could see
okay.
really well with the glasses, but I was always being made fun of because of the
Yeah.
glasses. So I wanted contacts. And she said, "See the end of that stick down there in the burn barrel? I'm going to give you one free shot, but you have to hit the end of that stick on the second shot. If you do that, I'll take you to town right now and we'll get your contacts." I hit it the first shot, and we went to town and got contacts. But Mom always made me shoot for what I wanted. And so that's why I'm such a stickler at the range on gun safety and all that.
You're gonna have fun at the range, but you're gonna walk home with the same amount of digits that you entered
That's
the
correct.
range with.
That's correct.
And so, somebody who's a volunteer, who was, volunteer firefighter,
Yeah.
And we'll talk kind of about the ammunition and the safety, the importance. We'll take, a moment and talk about the importance of gun safety because I don't have anything against guns. I'm just not big into guns. So to me, I'm neither here nor there. But as somebody who, my family, that was a big part, hunting was a big part.
Mhm.
It's not that I'm against it. It's just not my thing. I'm not,
Right.
guns aren't my thing. I've got nothing against them. But people want to blame the guns. It's not the gun's
Oh,
fault. You know what I mean? And we won't get into the politics,
no.
but we will talk about the importance of gun safety.
Yes.
And so you've seen the dangerous side on the firefighting side, and you
Mhm.
talk about gun safety. And have you seen any repercussions of not gun safety?
Oh, yeah. I did. Not only was I a volunteer firefighter, but I was also a career firefighter. And I also worked on Cox Ambulance for 5 years and worked Cox North ER for 5 years. So I have seen uh, suicides. I've seen accidental shootings. I've seen hunting accidental shootings. Um, by people not unloading their gun or putting it on safety before they send it down the tree. Buttstock hits the ground, shoots them up in the air, and they're up in the tree. I've seen that. Um, and I will say, guns don't kill people. People kill people. I can take this microphone probably wouldn't so but I would try to bludgeon you with this microphone. This is as much a weapon as my sidearm. I don't have to have the sidearm, but being trained in it gives me another step that I can take if I have to. I don't blame you for not really being involved with guns. I'm not involved in sports. You guys can talk sports all day long. And I'm going, field goal in basketball,
But that's
Yeah.
that's what I want people to understand
Mhm.
that I don't want to, because I think people say gun enthusiast and they say it in a joking manner.
Right.
You are somebody who respects,
100%.
enjoys, and understands the use of firearms.
Right.
But yet at the same time, you've also seen the side effects of what happens when there's not safety.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think it's important for people to understand that you cannot be somebody who is a devout gun, like I said, I hate to say enthusiast, but a
Right.
gun enthusiast, and they're a bad person because they like guns. Oh, they just like violence. No, 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 no,
No.
no. Some of them, and it's like I said, I respect and I love to look at guns. My grandpa used to build his own
Mhm.
guns, so a nice finish on a gun's, the stock and
Right.
all of that. I I respect and I understand, the polish and keeping one pristine, because you can have a gun for, I mean, there's guns on display at Bass Pro from
Right.
1880 that look like you could take them out to the range now.
Sure.
So I understand them, and I like them, but shooting them is just not my thing. But
Right.
for people to understand that you can enjoy them and understand that not some, there are people that don't need them.
Oh, I agree.
100%.
I
Yeah.
So
agree.
that's, and we can kind of skedaddle past that because that kind of, but
I think,
mean,
like Larry said, I mean, anything could be a weapon.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
not the object; it's the intent of the person
Right.
that makes it.
and
Right.
while we're here, I just felt led to ask this question, and I don't want it to, uh, I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to pin you,
Oh,
because
no.
I know somebody would say, because I've heard this question asked to me before, why would a church need security if there's a God that dwells there? I asked that question because
Mhm.
I just felt like you would have the proper answer
I
for
do
that.
have an answer
And
for
I
you.
want people to understand that we're not belittling God whenever we say
No, not at all.
that
No.
we need security here. But Larry, if you would please explain to people who would have that question
Right.
the necessity of security at a church.
Well, we come here as a safe haven, okay, a place to worship together as a group. There are always people out here with ill intentions. I can cite dozens of them because I am a part of church security worship team groups that anytime something like that happens, I don't want anyone to have to be looking around the room wondering who's going to do what wrong. If we do our job right, and I will not say who all is a part of the team, because we blend in and we're just common parishioners here, and basically we're scattered out enough and we know each other enough that if there's an issue, and there have been issues both at Venture
Mm-hmm.
and here, not everybody even realizes it's happening because we try to just get it out of the way and take care of the situation. We're not here to go, oh, um, you just walked in here and I don't like the way you look, so you need to leave now.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that is not what we're here for. We are here to show grace and make for sure everyone that walks through those doors, I don't care if it's your first time or your 100th time, that you can feel safe in sitting in those chairs.
And you don't have to feel worried about your kids
Right.
not
I
being
was just getting ready to
protected
say
while
that.
Kids,
you're.
oh yeah, you're not getting past those doors.
You're not getting past them, and that's important too, because the aspect of the child growth that's here at home church.
Yes.
You have people in and out. So as somebody who's seen home church grow,
Mhm.
please explain to people the importance of the guidelines of checking your child in, making sure that they're safe, because I think you get rushed, you're running behind, you just want to get your child in,
Mhm.
and then you want your child to have this process taken to make sure they're safe. I think some people can be like, man, this is frustrating. Explain the importance of that as somebody who that is a very protected area.
Oh yeah.
Your children are
100%
you got
protected.
I
yeah.
mean it's there's two places that
On
if
Any given Sunday, I'm being 100% honest with you. Any given Sunday, that children's area is 100% protected. There's probably, I mean, I'm not going to say who, but probably at least 2 to 3 of us
Yes.
back there, just in that area alone. Maybe a few more keep an eye on the door, and then wherever
We
else we
got
may be
cameras
sitting.
set up
Yeah.
in there.
but why
Yeah.
is it that you have the check in, the check out? Why is it that you make sure that this door is a safe haven? Why is it that everything is set up the way it is?
One, we don't need any child abductions. Okay, and that's from a stranger coming in, or in today's day and age, custody battles. Okay, if someone is going to bring their children here and they go through the check-in process, okay, the parent gets a sticker, the child gets a sticker. Those can be matched up at any given time. Um, if there was a situation out here and we had some deranged person trying to get through there to get to the kids, or created a big disturbance here while somebody else tried to slip in, we can account for every single child with those parents in custody situations. And, you know, in most cases, I love both sides of the family. But some people think that you can just slide right in here if you're the non custodial parent and take that kid out, and mom or dad has no idea that that child's gone. Won't happen here. I will respect the custodial parent that brought
Mhm.
that child unless that custodial parent comes to me and says, so and so is coming to pick up this child. At that point, you're aware, I'm aware. That's it.
And just because you say that's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to also come and tell you
Right.
that it's happened. Not just, hey, they came and got them, and after service, you're gone.
Right.
We're going to tell you that it happened. That way you don't have to worry about your child.
Yeah. And we want to make for sure that these children are safe. I mean, they're actually, and no offense to any of the parishioners out here, those children can't help themselves. These parishioners can. I will go fight a battle to keep somebody from taking one of these children or harming one of these children.
And the thing about it is the importance of for somebody to say, why do you need security at a church? There is, I think, a plethora of reasons that home church is growing the way that it is.
Right.
One of them is that praise and worship, you can get so in tuned in it.
Mhm.
A lot of that is, like you just made the comment, our job is to make sure inconveniences aren't noticed.
Right.
It's a reason that worship, I think, you could add that to it, is these people can get so in tune to it that they
Mm-hmm.
don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z.
Right.
It's all safe. It's all taken care of. So somebody to say, and I don't want to talk a number. I don't want to talk about instances or,
Right.
but for somebody to say that, why would you need security? Have you had to take action here
Oh,
before?
yes.
So my point is they made it through. God provided
Mhm.
a stopping point. So
Right.
there is a need for a security. But I've just heard that argument before, and
Right.
I just felt like I was like, Larry's got the answer for this. But that is just something that bothers me whenever somebody says, "Why would you need that?" Whenever there's a God, because these instances still, the way this world has gotten,
Right.
people don't respect anymore. They don't
No.
care. Yes, this is a church, but people don't care. We've seen instances of it here. People don't care. You can see the church sign and people just let trash pile up. They'll leave their trash on our parking lot.
Right.
They'll speed through the parking lot here whenever you have people with family and children walking through.
Mhm.
There's a reason that things are done, and it's to make sure that people are safe and secure. And so we'll get off of the security subject, just wanted people to understand the need and the necessity of that.
Yeah, and home church is not the only church
Yeah.
that has it. It's a shame we have to, but it is a necessary evil that we have to do. And any church that says, oh, or any leadership in a church that says, oh, we don't need it, we're fine, we're a church, they haven't never had an incident that they know of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll go back, and you made the comment
Mhm.
about the three daughters.
Yeah.
So what of your daughters? Just a little bit about them. What are
Oh, I've got a.
and how many grandchildren?
That's why my wife's not here today. Um, I, my wife and I was married after 2008, so we had separate families prior to that due to divorces. So on my side, I have my three daughters, and I've got an older daughter who works in insurance coding. She's here in town. My middle daughter is out at Pleasant Hope. She's married and has a job, I believe, with Bass Pro now. My youngest daughter, she married a man, wonderful man, that had three daughters from a previous marriage. And then they also gave me a grandson. Those three girls treat me like I am their regular grandpa. And the little boy, a little over a year old now, yeah, they're all the apple of my eye.
This is
And-
where the tissues come into play,
Yep,
bud.
it is. It is. But they treat me not as a step grandpa, but as a grandpa. I try to spoil the crap out of every single one of them, and that's fine because I can spoil them without spending money. There's time, there's affection, there's doing things with them, and including them and treating them as a human, not as a child.
Mm.
And then my wife's side. Okay, I've got her oldest son and his wife live in Kansas City, and they've got two children, a girl and a boy, and get up there as much as I can, spend time with them. The girl, she's our thing is to play a game of hangman. She loves playing hangman with me, so that's what we do. Like I said, you don't have to spend money. It's quality time.
I would like you to, for those that are listening, and I don't think they really understand how much time you and Tanya put in here, let alone, well, I think some do, but
Some do,
but
yeah.
I think some do, but to really put it into perspective, people talk about time and how it's difficult to have
Right.
time for this and this and this. I can vouch for it. You and Tanya love both sides of the family.
Oh, yeah.
You take time to go see them in Boston whenever it was, the Boston. It's,
Right.
you guys are still doing all these things. It's not like
Yeah.
you're slowing down your regular life, but you're
No.
still for people who are wanting that life to be slowed down,
Uh-huh.
right? They want it slowed down. They need more time for this and this and this.
Right.
Could you help give them some advice as somebody who
Y-
our
yeah.
common thing to say is wear many hats.
Right.
As somebody who wears many hats on
Mhm.
top of being a grandfather to, all around, it's not like it's just close here in Missouri.
Right.
It's all around. You guys are flying to places to see.
Yep. My wife's flew to Greenville, South Carolina today.
So, with
Yeah.
that being said, what is some advice that you would give people to help them better understand, hang in there?
All right.
It's not like it's something, it's not easy. It's not like you
It's
just,
not.
you don't just buy more time. It's
No.
not like they extend the 24 hours,
I'm one, as you know, that doesn't like to sit still. I'm not going to do it. I used to do everything that I'm doing and be full-time fire and teach 12 credit hours a semester on top of everything that you're already seeing here. And I got my second degree in fire science while I was doing all that. I've had that question posed many times by students that didn't have a job. They went to school during the days, and they said, I just don't have time for all this. I said, really? I said, okay, I'm going to ask you this. What's your priorities in life? It's God first, family second, job third. Now, I understand there are jobs out here that can absolutely blow your mind. I have a great saying, and this is what I told you I was going to say at the beginning of this. If you have a job that you don't want to go to every morning, you're just like, oh my gosh, how can I get out of work today? I don't like where I'm working. Put it in God's hands. Because if a job becomes a job, you'll be miserable the rest of your life. A job should never feel like a job. A job should be something that you want to go to every day. You want to enjoy it. You want to be a productive member of society. And you want to make for sure that everything that you touch, if it can be fixed, fix it. You want to make people happy. So I never look at Remodelers Unlimited or Music on the Move or Sleep in Heavenly Peace as a job. I look at it as something I enjoy to do. I look at it as something that God has told me to do. And I look at it as, you know what? I can wake up of a morning and go, I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to have what we got. We've been blessed with every single aspect of life. Has it been easy? Oh, no. No. Anybody that tells you life's easy, they're fooling themselves. But go for that enjoyment every morning you wake up, or every evening you wake up if you're second or third shift. But enjoy what you do. And then it's not a job. It flows.
But I think there is something important, really important that you said at that. Take it to God. It's
yeah.
not one of those things you take it into your own hands and you go, you know what? I'm miserable today. I'm just going to go do whatever I want. I'm going to take this into my own hands. You have to take it to God. And I think that's an important step. It takes a minute to get you into the position in life where you wake up and it's not there.
Right.
And that position in life is trusting God and understanding that you are going to work some overtime. There's going to
Right.
be people that at work that you're not going to get along
Right.
with. There's going to be that client that is just riding you,
Right.
that is just, you're doing everything for them. And it's like, why are they like this?
Mhm.
If you let that eat, you could let that one
Sure.
person eat at you and ruin the rest of it.
Mhm.
But in your mind, you're in the mindset of I'm doing what God has blessed me with. So taking that to God is a big important step of that. And you
Yes.
can't just be like, I'm gonna, you know what, I'm gonna take time for myself. I'm gonna go to the Bahamas and find myself. That's not
Right.
what it is. It's not a finding yourself.
No.
It's finding God. And when you find God, He'll help you find yourself. There's a refining of chiseling away of yourself that has to happen.
Right.
And then God can make you the contractor that builds and has these projects that clients just love. You're
Right.
somebody that can step up for Help Give Hope and help, or not Help Give Hope. Why did I say Help Give Hope? That's a thing that we do at that's
Yes.
the thing we do
Yes.
at my work.
Uh-huh.
Sleep in Heavenly Peace.
Right.
So you do these things and you're happy doing them.
Oh yeah.
So it's not a burden. Some people put themselves in a situation, in a position at church, serving in church or whatever the case is, where they're doing it because they wanted to do this.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do with what the Lord led them to do.
Right.
And sometimes there's a calling, like you're going to have the examples of Larry and Zach. They knew that whenever they were going to church and they were like instantly, music is my thing. That's where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Some people that are listening don't have that. They're like, okay, my thing is crocheting, and
Good.
there isn't a home church crocheting team. Well,
Yet.
the thing
Yeah.
is, you can crochet and talk to somebody about, find somebody maybe that likes crocheting, and you find them and you just start talking to them and you start, building a relationship that way. You don't always have to have this one thing.
No.
You find somebody on the team that you enjoy, and it doesn't feel like work. Whenever you serve, there's going to be times where the enemy makes you feel like it's work.
Yeah.
But the thing is you pursue through it and you're fine with it,
Right.
because you enjoy, and the Lord has put you in that position strategically.
Right.
So that's another thing too, is finding that sweet spot, because
Right.
it can be at times a lot, especially when
Yeah.
you do a lot during regular life.
Well, and me and God, we had a problem for about 10 years. About 10 years. I never darkened the door of a church. Never. I said, He's failed me. Every church that I've been involved with, just a lie. You're always going to have problems. And if you look at all the negatives, yeah, every place has. Anytime you get more than one person in a room, you're going to have an issue sooner or later. But me and God, we had a fight. I lost, and then I won because I came back. Said, I got to put it in your hands. I was married for 22 years, and I was the way I look at it, I was in that about 10 years too long. But with my Baptist upbringing, I was going straight to hell if I got a divorce. And one day I was sitting out in the woods hunting. Said, wouldn't be hard to make this look like a hunting accident. I could just take care of it right now. Don't worry about it. No. God said, you pull that trigger, I am sending you straight to hell. And there are other issues with suicide, and we won't get into those, but this is me personally. And so I said, okay, well, here we go. And I felt like after that divorce was almost final, there was a weight lifted off of my chest. Met Tanya. She's strong-willed and God-fearing. And got back into church, and I said, well, God, my thoughts wasn't exactly right. Take over. And I actually, one of the old Baptist pastors had a church over here on the east side. And he told me, he said, you're always more than welcome to come over here. Well, I said, no, ain't happening. And he needed a sound system for a outdoor cookout or something. Something happened to theirs. So he invited me over there. He said, I need your sound system, and I don't know how to run your sound system. And It was always a running joke. As I was walking in, I just put my foot across the threshold and looked around, and he goes, "It didn't go up in flames. Get on in here." I said, "All right, all right." And I just had to put it all back in God's hands.
But that's a vital thing because you talk about how we perceive things,
Right.
right? If you were, let's just say that on that day you were hunting, and you go back and it was a TV show, right? And
Right.
it was a movie series. You go back and watch that, and it's Larry hunting in the woods. He's having a great time out there. He doesn't have to work. He's in the woods.
Right.
He's out there hunting. His mind, gosh, he's got it so good.
Right.
He's got it. He's living the life. And you just made that comment.
Yeah.
And so that's important. That's an important factor in that story is everybody's thing. Well, I'm not going to say everybody, but it's important that people understand that people are going through things.
Right.
And that in a line of work that you're in, whether it was Cox, whether it was construction, a key aspect is communication.
Right.
If you're not communicating with the client and the client's not communicating with you, the floors are gray when they wanted them pink.
Right.
And it's like, oh no. If you're in the hospital and you're not communicating with the next doctor,
Right.
you've given him penicillin and he can't have penicillin because
Right.
he's allergic to it.
Mm-hmm.
So communication, I think as men, this has been on my heart a lot too, and it's been affecting me a lot lately, is not talking about things.
Right.
Is so much more worse off in the where I want to not say something because, well, I'm going to hurt the feelings or I'm going to seem like this, or it's, what if it's impulsive? And then the next thing I know, 7 hours later, I'm still mad about something.
Right.
When I should have just said, whatever it was in that moment, we could have cleared things up. I'm not going into the weekend frustrated.
Right.
So communication is a big key in all of this. Whenever you say to God, okay, it's for you.
Yeah.
You start communicating with him. That's another bad thing. For 10 years, you said you were mad, or 10 years you were mad at God. So at 10 years, you had no communication with God.
No communications. And things weren't going right either, guys. I mean, the time I turned my back on God, nothing went right. Nothing. I was struggling to pay my bills. I was going through my divorce. I was just mad at life. And that's no way to be. I didn't want to get up of a morning. And all of a sudden, poof, I wake up one morning and I'm going, what was I thinking? I'm a fool. And so there you go, God. And, when you give it all to God, and I've heard people say on several of these things that I'm involved with, well, that's just the Larry show. No. Somebody's got to organize. Somebody's got to maintain. Everybody involved in here is looking for some type of guidance. I'm not standing up there preaching, but I'm just an organizer. That's all I am. It's not the Larry show. Larry's just heads it up because not everybody wants to. Believe it or not, I'm a really shy person.
Nah. I think you said it perfectly last night while we were texting. And, I may be in charge of a lot of things, but people are what make everything work. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's crazy. You think that you're in charge of all this stuff, so you got to know what's going on. But, I mean, but without the people helping you do that behind the scenes stuff, there's no Larry to begin with.
On bed builds and stuff, you know what my job's actually supposed to be? Not to lay a hand on a board. My job is to be talking to these people that come out to see what we're doing, talking to, seeing how people are doing. And it's all a part of the family communication thing that you was talking about earlier.
Larry, I think you would go insane if you just had to do that, not help.
I
Yeah.
know. I actually did it at the Keller Williams one because we
Mhm.
had so many people there, and it worked out great because we've actually picked up more sponsors. Did a couple interviews, talked to some realtors that were there that wanted to do even more than what we were doing then. And so, yeah, it worked out. Now, I will say with that Keller Williams build, I brought in the Army because the Marshfield chapter brought all their people, all their tools. My boss in Kansas City, and I call him
We
boss.
thank all three of you out in
Yeah,
Marshfield. Thank
really.
all three of you.
Alan Balmer, his crew, Scott Foster, who's head of the building for the nation, is also my boss. Him and Lisa are my boss out of Kansas City. He brought his trailer down and his knowledge to make for sure we had enough people that could guide all these people into what they were supposed to be doing. And we built those 100 beds in less than 3.5 hours.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And
When
without
it
that
takes
kind of
us,
help.
3.5 hours to build 20.
It took
Well,
me
yeah.
3.5 hours to put a door handle in my door at my house when I first moved into it, let alone beds.
Yeah, but my job is not to be up here, hey, it's me, look at what all I've done today. No.
Hey, folks, Larry here.
Hey, folks, Larry here, and look at exactly what all these people
Zach,
just did today.
paste that and cut it. That is our intro. That is your job, Zach. Paste and cut that. We got it authentic here on the show.
Yeah, that's
We just
right.
need to add the
Oh,
keys.
yeah. There's Mr. Jingles.
So, as somebody who, we can. I wanted to kind of go back to this.
Yes.
Is you made the comment whenever you were younger, houses being or not houses, churches.
Mhm.
Your job was to build them up. Boom, next one. Build them up. Boom, next one.
Right.
So, seeing churches, boom, and then out, boom, and then out.
Right.
Does that affect?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Does that? What was the average amount of time, or was there a specific or?
Couple 3 years.
So, as you've seen home church grow, what is a commonality in a church that you've seen whenever it's been, we're done here? Is it just the Lord's kind of.
Folks said, we've been led to go start another one over here.
Okay.
That was all my folks.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, hey, thanks, folks. I think we're done here. We're gonna go on.
Yeah. So, now that I'm not going to say that is the mindset of now. I'm just saying, as home church, it's reached the point of that average. What is the commonality that you've seen in a church whenever it's kind of reached that? Man, we feel comfortable. Was there? Or I know you were younger, but
Right.
do you ever remember anything?
Oh yeah, because I was highly involved with it.
Yeah.
Dad was always a deacon. Mom always played the piano at the church and sang, and it was. There's a commonality to it, but Springfield in general is the buckle of the Bible Belt with having the Assemblies of God headquarters here. There is more organizations in this area like Convoy of Hope, the Kitchen, a lot of things that help people. Okay, we see it here because of some of the businesses that are in this area, and I see it, but I don't see myself church hopping.
No. That's I wasn't.
I mean,
yeah.
But people do church hop in this area. They church hop a lot because they'll open up another mega church, and then they'll bring all these people over from one of the other ones to make it look like that one's really going good.
It's just you see in the Old Testament, or not the Old Testament, in the New Testament with Paul, whenever he would start a church here, and then he would leave, and then he would write him a letter. You're going, about your ways.
Right.
And I'm not comparing you to Paul. I'm just saying, Paul would commonly reach back in contact with them, and so one of the things about that is he still had a heart for that church. He still, just because he built it up, didn't mean like it was done here, on to the next. I mean,
Right.
it was in a sense because
Right.
that was the lifestyle that you led, but the mindset was is there were still people here that we care for and we love.
Right.
I was just curious as to what it was that made a church to the point to where it was like, okay, it's in God's hands now, we're going to move on. I was just curious
Right.
as to see if there was something that was
Well, I think Clayton has mentioned it before, a season of pruning. Okay. You get certain people in the church that I don't care just because I wore a Beards and Riffs hat. Doesn't mean, if somebody didn't like that, that they would just come up and say, I don't like what you're wearing today. I hear enough of it on the temperature of the room because I can control that off my phone. Oh, it's too hot in here. Oh, it's too cold in here. Oh, well,
we're not
the
going to
music,
mention names, Mandy.
yeah, the music's too loud. The music's not loud enough. We've never had that one yet.
Move away from the speaker.
Yeah, move away from the speaker. But there are people that get too comfortable and want to create what I would call, and I'm not saying it's happening here, but it happens in most churches. People that just get complacent and they've got to find some reason to gripe. And they do. Ask Clayton, and I guarantee you he'll say, because I've made fun of Clayton before, and I actually did it at a wedding we did for JP's daughter. I said, now, Clayton, you're the last table to go eat because you're always holding us over 10:30. And I said, if you want to continue this, I'm going to stand back there with one of those big pointy arrows at the timer. And he goes, wherever God leads. And I said, God's going to lead you last in the food line. And he can attest to that. But yeah, I mean, I've had some of my clients come in to see what this church is about because I talk about this church and God at most all my jobs. If I've got an audience that's willing to listen, oh yeah. They're going to get to hear about it. And not everybody do I get a chance to do that with, but if I know that they've either got an issue going on in their life that they need some prayer over, or that I know that they're a believer and they may need to be guided in a particular way, hey, let's talk. I was having the fire extinguishers recertified the other night, and the guy that came to recertify them said, you'll probably be seeing me here again. All right. I love it. I'm never met a stranger, even though I'm pretty shy. I've never met a stranger.
I can't lie, Larry.
I'm not
We're in
lying. I
church.
know we're in the house of God. But I am truly one of those people that if I go into a room that I don't know hardly anybody in, I'm going to stand off in the corner somewhere and look around and kind of get a feel for the room before I even start talking to anybody.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way. I gotta
Me too, yeah.
dip that toe in the water first.
But my wife, she probably already knows half the people there, even though we didn't think we knew anybody.
She's already prayed for half of them before
Yeah.
you walk in the room too.
I mean, she already knew that I'm doing this podcast, and she's called 3 times and sent me 2 texts. So, yeah, even from South Carolina. Hi, honey. Love ya. But that you've got to do what you're called to do. Whether that be this podcast that you guys have created, whether it be the media, tech stuff, security, construction, do what you're told to do. Don't fight it. You fight it, you're going to have
It's
a
tough.
bad day. Oh, yeah.
It's tough.
Sure it is. I'm not saying that I don't question it every once in a while, but eventually, these people that say I need to sleep on it, they really are having a hard time with whatever they've been told to do. And I don't blame them for sleeping on it, but don't sleep too long. I've got my cousin's husband, they just put up yesterday that he's had cancer eat him up. and they was going to call for hospice yesterday, and at midnight last night he passed away. We don't know when our time's up. He thought he still had time to set up hospice and go home for a little while. Died last night. And, so if you think that you can put off tomorrow what you could have done today, no regrets. Live that life. Enjoy that family. Talk to those people. If you keep saying, oh, I'll do it tomorrow may be too late. And we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're going to walk out of that door right there and somebody's going to run us over. We don't know if the world's going to end. If Jesus says it's time, it's time. You can't do nothing with it. I mean, in fire and EMS, I did save a lot of lives. But that's only the physical body that I saved. It wasn't what's in the heart and what's in the mind. I've used to be taboo if a firefighter started crying on the scene or went back and cried. Anymore, if you don't, you're going to go get some help. Plain and simple. Dad was a firefighter for 27 years, and I was only a firefighter for 24. And you see some stuff. And to this day, there's a reason why we retire early or have marital problems, job problems, because most people will hold it in. That's why I love at base camp going up and sitting at the fire, because I know a lot of people that will not talk to you if you're in a group about their issues. But you get them off one-on-one, that fire will work on them, and then God will work on them.
And it's too knowing that there's no judges. It's not you're not here judging. Like, we can I just enjoyed the time that we had last base camp. You just got to, when you understand that you can tell somebody the deep darks and that somebody tells you, oh man, that's fine.
Mhm.
I've got those.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we can help each other out.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so what do we do here? Well, let's take this to God.
Right.
We'll take this to God. We don't, and it's like, okay, all right, and then you just feel comfortable. As somebody who finds it difficult to speak in front of large crowds, and it's not. I don't think we could say that any three of us enjoy just walking in front of a crowd and
Oh, no.
talking.
No,
I think
no.
people think that they want to, and
Mhm.
then you do it, and it's like, oh, this is different than what you feel like whenever you're at home sitting in a chair writing down a Bible verse to quote scripture. Like, it sounds like, oh yeah, I'm gonna run up there and just jog, and I'm gonna pull the old what is it, Jesse Duplantis, and just
Mhm.
throw a joke out here and there, and you get up there and it's like,
Yeah.
So to be able to kind of see somebody who's been in it a while, somebody who has just been recently more thrust up there, and somebody who is getting there and wanting to be there, somebody who is wanting to be there, what's some steps that you can say that you have kind of gotten from the media team, whether it's been from experts like Larry or JB? Because the thing is, whenever we go into these,
Right.
when we go into the media team, there's processes and procedures. It's not just you're here, there's your computer, click the slide.
Right.
We
I mean,
have
that is a lot of it. But
yeah, but there is you've got to listen to the harmony. You've got to listen to you get the rhythm. You understand whenever Mandy's going to go ahead and back out. You understand when Becca's coming in. You've got to know whenever Jamie's going to sing more of a harmony. I got to
Right.
get Jamie up here. It's not just something that is you can teach people sometimes. Sometimes you have to just have that ear for stuff.
Mhm.
But as somebody who is in the media team, you've had to go to Larry or JB for a question. What is it that somebody in a leadership role has helped you understand?
that everything we do back there is to serve the Lord, whether it's behind the scenes or you're up there on stage or, anything, greeting back there with the kids. It's all just a way around to serve the Lord. That's if we're not doing that, then what are we doing?
Right.
We're just putting on a concert, whoopee.
Yeah.
But as, fine tuning our art and stuff like that, there's going to be criticism and stuff like that. Knowing that comes from a love aspect, and they just want you to be the best you that you can be, and trying to keep that in mind. You don't take it as, oh, it's criticism, I'm not doing my job right, or I let them down or something like that. I've been doing it for 5+ years,
Yeah.
and I'll still double tap the keyboard and jump 3 slides ahead, or
It happens.
I'll miss the 5-minute countdown and JB's got to run over and start it or stuff like that. I mean, nobody's perfect, but knowing that where the heart's at and that we're all here to serve God is the main thing. So
Yeah. It is, because I couldn't go back there and teach those kids anything. That's not my calling.
other than Jesus loves me, man, I got nothing.
I hear you.
So as somebody that has been a teacher and somebody who obviously as an owner of a company, it's not just you. You have to have help, so
Right.
you have to train your help. I mean, some of them are going to have experience,
Right.
but you also have to train them. So there's some teaching involved into that. So there's
Definitely.
also the aspect of not only is it musically are you gifted, but leadership wise, you're leading. Sleep in heavenly peace. I almost called it help give hope again. But sleep in heavenly peace. So we'll start to wrap this up because we're getting ready to have a meeting for the base
yeah.
camp, and Tanya's going to get me and Zach both if we don't end this podcast soon.
You got a week.
So we will we'll sort of start to land this plane.
Okay.
But as being a teacher and just advice for younger people that are watching, something that as a teacher you would like for people starting that takeoff with Christ, what's some advice that you would just give them in general? We're not talking about serving. We're not talking
Nope.
about any of that. You just made the comment that whether you're on the job site, you're talking about God. So you're not only discipling and trying to help out here, you're discipling at these homes that you're at. It's
Right.
not just one home. So doing all of that, what is some advice that you would give somebody who is just starting out, and maybe some stuff that we haven't really touched on that you feel is a necessity to talk about?
Well, do what you love to do. You know, you can't always, and I know that money's important. That's what makes the world go round. I understand that completely. But if you're looking at a job as, well, this one pays $12.50 an hour. This one over here only pays $12 an hour. I've got to go with the one that makes the most money. Financially, yes. But spiritually and mentally, no. I have turned down 6-figure incomes. I have lost businesses. I've lost millions of dollars over my life. I've made good money. I've lost good money. Do what you love to do. Eventually, you'll get there. You know, that's what we all aim for. But I've heard these people that have had, bachelor's and master's degrees in something, and they get into it and realize, oh my gosh, I just spent the last 6 years in college and all this student debt, and I hate what I do. Change it.
It's funny because like the pride, and I'm not going to talk about who and what it was, but the other day there was a conversation going on, and it was about how much money the gentleman made.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm making this and this and this and blah 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 plus this and this and this. And the guy was like, "Oh man, that's great. So you made it." And he was like, "No, I hate it, man. But it's good money."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "What are you doing now?" And he was like, "Oh, just the guy was doing what he loved.
Right.
He had the 3 kids, he had the wife, they drove the simple vehicle.
Right.
The guy that was hating his job driving a new vehicle, this and this and this, no, I hate it, man. It's funny the pride that you take whenever it is when you enjoy it. And you can have all of these earthly things, all of these nice this, nice that's. But when it comes down to it, if you can't sit here and say that you enjoy what you're doing,
Right.
what's it all worth?
And and another thing I'd tell young folks or older folks too, always be willing to learn. The day you quit learning should be the day you die. Try to learn one new thing every single day. Me, as an old dog in construction, I learn new stuff all the time, dang near every day. Um, People see me pulling out the instructions on a ceiling fan. They go, "Well, haven't you put thousands of those in?" Sure, I have. And every single one of them's different. So we're going to take a look at this. We're going to nowadays pull up a YouTube and figure it out. I had to put a faucet in by YouTube the other day, so it was one I wasn't used to. But um, one of the guys that's with me right now, I used to be his chief at Fairgrove Fire. I've known him for over 25 years. He has worked for me for over 15 years. And every day he comes up to me and says, "Well, I know he's getting more and more confident. We do so many different things that he gets a little piece of each one of these, and not just, okay, we're a plumbing company today. We're an electrical company today."
Yeah.
No, we do a whole bunch of different things every day. And so that's made him more confident in what he can do. He's still got his full-time fire job, but he wants to show up during the weekdays and learn some more. That's what we want. I'm not one of those people that go, "Oh, man, you really screwed that up. I'm going to make you pay for that." No, that's all the learning process. Be willing to learn and love what you do, and you won't work a day in your life.
At work they've been going through a hiring process,
Right.
and I'm not heavily into that. They come in and they bring their applications in and stuff. But one thing that I got to thinking about the other day, and as somebody, as an owner, this is kind of a curiosity that I have. Um, Whenever somebody brings you can write whatever you want to.
Sure.
You can tell the best story you want to. I'm not good at driving a stick shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can make up and fabricate a story to you, and yeah, I had it in third gear and swapped it into fifth real quick and swung around. I can
Right.
tell you a story, and you could be like, "Oh wow, this is man."
Mm-hmm.
You just made the comment there. They're coming back and they're striving.
Right.
It's funny because there's a younger kid, and he doesn't. He just graduated,
Mm-hmm.
and they need somebody who knows what they're doing because
Right.
we've only got one guy. So, but he's persistent.
Right.
And this cat has really caught my eye because he's persistent. He wanted to fill out one because that's the way his mom and dad did it.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me a lot of, and I'm not trying to sound braggadocious, but when I was a young kid, my mom and dad raised me right. They raised me proper, so I
Mm-hmm.
gave 2 week notice. I gave this,
Right.
I did things the proper way. I was work early, stayed late if I
Right.
needed. So he's got that drive, and you can see that action in him more or
Mm-hmm.
not than you can this guy that tells a good, yeah, boys, I was building a 357 back in 777, 67, 97, 411, 57, 44 of Curtibray in it. And it's like, oh, yeah, that sounds good.
Uh-huh.
But you showed up 15 minutes late.
Right.
You did this. And it's like, so as a business owner, what is it that strikes you about somebody who may not have 15 years experience in carpentry? What's the first thing that you notice?
They don't need to have 15 years in carpentry. They have to have a willingness to be on time. And two things I cannot stand, and I will not put up with it, is a liar and a thief. You lie to me once, or you steal from me or any of my clients, you're out. It's gone. I would much rather you come in and say, "I don't know squat about what you're doing or how you do it, but I'm willing to learn." And if you have your honesty and your integrity in there, I will teach you all day long. Just don't lie and don't steal. And we're doing fine. I don't care how much you screw up. It can be fixed. Hopefully I can catch it before it gets too bad. Because somebody comes up and says, "Yeah, I've done this for this length of time." I'm like, "Okay." And I did this in my company in Columbia. Um, one year I had, because I had 42 guys over 5 states doing a little over 5 million a year in gross sales. And yeah, I spent most of my time hiring and firing people because I paid top dollar for supposedly their experience. But you know what I did with them? They had to work with me for one day. And if they could make it past me for one day, then I could feel good about what they did. I could put them on a crew. Once that crew boss said, yep, that's exactly what we're looking for, then give them their own crew. But until that point, you had to pass by me first for one day. If you could work with me for one day and you passed, great. 1 year, I had over 300 W-2s I had to send out. Over 300 W-2s because they didn't have the drive. They showed up late. They wanted to mess around and stay in hiding, or whenever I'd leave, they'd sit down and do nothing. That didn't work.
That almost averages out to basically a guy a work week, like,
A guy a day almost.
or I mean a guy a day. I
Yeah.
meant in a work week, you know,
Yeah.
the 5-day period. You
5-day
have your
period.
weekends. I mean, that's 300, almost 300
Yeah.
days. So that's a guy a day. Like,
Sometimes 2, sometimes 3. You never knew. But I always told them, I said, I'm paying top rate for your trade, and I expect top rate work. If you say you've got this experience, you've got all the knowledge, great. People don't pay me by the hour. They pay me by the job. Because what I can do in 15 minutes wouldn't, and it's like shop rates, okay? You got a guy that's a very experienced, got all the tools, knows how to get that in way underneath the shop rate. But it's taken 10, 20, 30 years to know how to get it there.
and the hours that he worked on that paycheck to buy that tool
Right.
that was extra expensive, but it gets the job done easier. So he went ahead and paid $500,000, whatever. I mean,
Right.
outrageous what they want for tools, but it's something that can get an hour job done in 15 minutes.
Right.
Well, in his mindset, oh, I'm going to make bank off of this because I can do that. People get mad at that, and it's like, no, he pre-planned that.
Right.
He invested in that tool. He invested his time.
Yeah.
And so you've done the same. You don't buy, I mean, there may be a necessity and you're like, I'm going to go to Harbor Freight because it breaks. But for the most part,
Mhm.
you're doing quality jobs because you're not buying a new tool at the beginning of every week.
No.
You have invested in expensive tools
Mhm.
that get the job done the way that you want it. You've invested in those tools in yourself. And you're going to see the fruits of those labor.
Right.
And that's the thing I'm glad you said that because people don't sometimes understand that.
Right.
You don't pay for what hourly rate Larry works for.
Right.
You pay for the job Larry's going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And people have made fun of my truck, and that's fine. Anybody who
Yeah.
wants to make fun of my truck, make fun of my truck.
We can't now because he's
No.
got a Mr. Clean subscription or
Right.
a Mr. Wash subscription.
Yeah.
Little iguana. Yeah.
But no, I have the proper tools. And I can step out to my truck, and you guys have done it to me before. Hey, do you have this out in your truck? Yes, it just so happens I do. And
Right where you put it.
right where I put
Yep.
it. Yeah, I've got a roll-out tray in the back, a hard top cover. I can pull that thing out, reach right in, grab what I need, bring it in.
And so you could pay $500 and have cousin Billy
Right.
with the S10 who doesn't have 5 tools in his toolbox. Going to take him probably 14 hours to get the same job you can do in 3 hours done. That's convenience. You're not going to have Billy for 14 hours.
Right. And you also got to figure in owning a business isn't just the tools, the truck, the knowledge, the time. I pay for insurance. I pay a lot for insurance. That and licensing and continuing ed. I mean, I'm always having to go somewhere and take another class.
Certification.
Certifications, yeah. You know, I have fought City of Springfield all my adult life. They don't have a general contractor's license certification like Kansas City, St. Louis does, where you've got to go take a test before they'll even give you a business license. You know what it takes to get a business license for a contractor in the city? $25. That's it.
Home Church Podcast is now contracting out jobs as of now.
No, it takes $25 to get a business license to be a contractor. And now, there are guys out here that will.
I got the $25.
You got the $25? Yeah. I mean, my general liability, I'd carry $1 million, $2 million aggregate policy, and it cost me $1,000 a year. I'm not looking to, and that's without any claims whatsoever. $1,000 a year to start.
$1,000 for $1 million sounds like a deal.
Yeah. But, you know, it really doesn't cover a whole lot. But that's the minimum that I keep is $1 million policy.
I mean, I know it's the cost of a house, but if you mess up one thing, that's 4 houses. Are 4 houses going to keep your mouths fed in a year?
Right.
No, so you got to do more than 4 houses.
Right.
So, I mean, but if you were to have a situation where that were to arise, you
Right.
know. But
I've got it.
yeah.
And some of these people out here, they want to make $15 an hour, and they just went to the city and paid $25 for the business license, went to a pawn shop and picked up a tool belt and an old shot DeWalt drill. I'm a contractor. Well, sure they can do it cheaper than I can. One, they just got laid off from their factory job, so they said, I'm a contractor now with no experience, no nothing, and they're going to go in, screw it up, and possibly cause damage. And the homeowner's not covered, they're not covered, and it creates a bad name for every single one of us. And so, yeah, if you want a quality product, someone with the proper tools, someone with the proper knowledge, someone with the proper insurance, proper licensing, you're going to pay for it. Now, I'm not saying every single one of these jobs I'm tacking $1,000 onto for the insurance. It gets spread out over, you know, I figure a 50-hour week. So I break it down into how much is that $1,000 per hour in a 50-hour week. And that's what I add on for my overhead. Yeah.
Right on. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and land this bad boy because 1 o'clock is
Yeah.
whenever they needed to be here. So.
Oh, they pushed it back until 2, but still.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's, yeah. But anyways, so,
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll go ahead. Did you have any questions or
No,
anything?
not that I can think of. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, Larry, that we didn't talk about?
No. Just, I would just like to remind anybody out there that's watching this, that if you're looking out for yourself instead of letting God look out for you, you're looking in the wrong spot. Let God take over your heart and let him do his magic on you, and your life will be so much better.
And that's something that is very important. Whenever somebody is teaching you something and trying to tell you something, it's 2 reasons. They've seen somebody fail from it and they learned and they were like, I'm not doing that, or they've failed themselves and learned.
Right.
And so a good teacher is not only do they understand what they're teaching, but a lot of it is because they've experienced
Right.
it. And so you couldn't go have me teach a firefighting class.
Right.
That would make no sense at all.
Right.
So the importance of really being able to convey what you're saying, people don't understand that
Right.
that you're saying that from experience,
Right.
and that is something that there's no value on whenever somebody's going to tell you something from experience.
Right.
There you can put a value on it. It's priceless because you can take that and not have to go through that and
Right.
experience that. You know, you could be like, all right, so that's what Larry was talking about. Okay,
Right.
so before I go through that marsh, I know what Larry said to avoid through it, so we're going to go ahead and avoid it.
Hmm.
Or you can be, oh, yeah, that's not me. Yeah, that was just Larry, not me. And then 3 weeks down the road, you're like, that's what he was talking about. And you've wasted 3 weeks of your life.
Right.
And
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what's cool about this podcast is you get people on here and they talk, and it's cool when you have the ones who aren't outgoing and they don't necessarily have a major presence in the church,
Right.
but it's really cool when you get somebody that has a major presence in the church, because I think people can kind of see it as this person is one way or the other.
Hmm.
You don't really know the true them. And just to sit and get your story and to kind of get the mindset, it really helps people understand what can kind of keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And they may not be like me or Zach. They may be more closely related to Larry. That's where you mesh, you find your group. If there's a possibility of serving, with that general likeness,
Hmm.
then that possibility's there. There may be that possibility of, I really don't know what area to serve in, but hey, I feel really comfortable around Zach, so
Right.
whatever Zach's serving in, I feel comfortable around him, so I can serve in that area until I really found where I'm needed. Sometimes God's got you on this, I hate to say like an escalator, but sometimes you're going to go certain places and then it's going to stop for just a minute,
Right.
and you're going to hang out there, and then you're going to go, you're not always going to be just back there just with Zach.
Right.
God's going to need you to get comfortable around other people too. So he kind of helps as the buffer, and so, but then some people, like I said, are more just acclimated right away. I haven't yet to really find Brooklyn's that way. I guess she's kind of, you could put her anywhere and she acclimates real quick. But for the most part, it seems like the guests are kind of like, no, I'm really not an outgoing person. I
Right.
mean, I enjoy the people I'm around, but for the most part, I kind of like to be off on my own and stuff. So,
Oh yeah.
but no, I appreciate. I know you're busy, like you said. This is just because it's Saturday doesn't mean Larry's off.
No, it's all good though.
Yeah.
I enjoy actually finally getting a chance to sit down with you guys.
Yeah, Larry's been wanting to be on the podcast since day one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And so, as we're leaving, we'll give one more shout out to Base Camp. And
yeah.
one of the things you made the comment earlier, last year you weren't able to be at the Base Camp. You had a wedding for
Yep.
the family.
Yes.
So, hey, Larry had a family thing. Larry went to a family thing over Base Camp. Did God strike you dead for that? No. God understands that there's importance in family as well. So, sorry, that was a little side tangent. But one of the things that was awesome about the cabin, that was my first time, was the fire. Larry tending the fire. It was a safe haven. Me and Jacob went out there, and me and Jacob sat while Larry tended the fire, and we just talked about random stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, that first year the fire got a little bigger than
Oh,
we
yeah.
probably
Yeah.
should have had it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
oh
But
well.
Life
so
goes on.
so Base Camp, as we're nearing the season for Base Camp, as we're nearing that time, let's speak about importance of Base Camp towards you before, and we can close out with
Okay.
sort of our last shout out to Base Camp. What does Base Camp mean to you?
Base camp to me, I mean, I love the fire. This year I'm going to be doing a little bit more than just the fire, if we're allowed to have the fire. Not for sure yet because we don't know what the weather's going to be like, but I'm going to be working with,
They're not going to stop me.
we're going to be doing the shooting range.
Yeah, this year I don't have to be in charge of that.
That's
Yeah.
right. And we've also got another thing coming up that Zach and I have been working on, and axe throwing. We've got everything but the
Actual
big pieces.
targets, yeah.
Yeah, the actual targets. We've got everything ready to go for axe throwing.
I'll bring my Kratos axe.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
We don't want to break it, but it's a fellowship. That's why I stay at the fire, because when somebody comes up and just casual chit chat, and then they start talking about an issue that they're having in life. the reason God put me there was because a lot of your people that they would normally talk to haven't either experienced what that person has said or don't know anybody that has experienced what that person's talking about. Due to my little rambunctious time there and me not talking to God, I can see where some of them are coming from. And so I can talk from experience instead of going, yeah, man, I know what you're talking about. And you haven't a clue what they just talked about. So, there's good and bad in life. And if you learn from it, that's excellent. If you don't learn from it, it's bad. So take the life experiences that you got and don't try to BS anybody. Just talk about what you know. I'm pretty straightforward and to the point on everything that I say because I don't want to end up having anybody think that I'm BSing them.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to tell you straightforward, and whether you like it or not. And if I'm incorrect in what I'm speaking, I'll be the very first one to apologize and set it straight. Because I'm a no BS person anymore. Because I don't have to be. I don't have to be. Base camp to me is these men actually finding a place to release some inhibitions, release some barriers, and we're not there to break down walls. We're there to help them take them down if they need them down, and it works. I mean,
sometimes we'll kick down those walls if we need to
we'll
kick
kick down the walls. But,
Well, and and it's like you said at the beginning of the podcast, you don't have to like sports. You don't have to be
no.
a Kansas City Chiefs football enthusiast. You don't
it
have to
helps,
be.
but
Yeah. But the thing is like we all have different interests. Just
Right.
because, like you said, they haven't experienced that elsewhere doesn't mean there's not going to be somebody at base camp who's not going to be there. And
Right.
we're not trying to suck you in and then have these little brainwashing sessions
Right.
and you got to love Christ, you got to love. It's all about opening up and understanding that we're in this together,
Right.
and that's why we're put here. That's why we can talk. That's why we can communicate with each other, is because we're here for each other.
And how can I be of assistance to you?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
And
it.
and it's not a thing where they make you. It's not a
Right.
thing where, this has to happen, this has to happen, it's an atmosphere in where if something's not your thing, then they've got something, and if that's not your thing and it's your thing is just sitting down and talking, great. They've got a thing for that. So
Yeah.
they've got all that you need as a man to get recharged, but in
Right.
the same time, if you're somebody who's filled up, you're able to pour out,
Right.
because that atmosphere is available. So
Because I needed it just as much as those people coming to the fire needed it.
Right.
I needed to hear from them. And, it got some of my stuff out too. Well, great. That's a two for that day. I'm happy to do it. And I'm happy to be filled back up. My whole position in it is, what can I do to help your day?
And sometimes you got to pour out to be filled back up because you're
Right.
full of that negative stuff.
Right.
So you can't give what you don't have.
Right.
So you can't share the word of God or anything like that if you're holding on to the addiction that you had
Right.
or whatever you may be going through. So
Right.
It's a great way to just let go of that, not just around the fire, but when we're eating or
Right.
doing the spiritual walk or just
Mhm.
whatever we happen to be doing.
Oh, I love the hike
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. That was fun.
all right.
Still not
I-
forgiving Duke for that.
All right. Well, I will say that it has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Sir.
Appreciate
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. We appreciate everybody watching.
We
I
know
am
this one was a
going
long
to.
one.
I'm
Yeah.
going to skedaddle over to the slide change area. So thank you, and I will let Zach have it for the end of it.
Larry, again, we just want to say thank you. I know for speaking for myself and probably for Nathan as well, you and JB are like our big mentors here at the church, and we appreciate you, everything that you do. I know personally for me, everybody by now knows I'm probably on the security team, if not surprise. But you helping, me with that. But you stepping up and training me and everything like that means a lot. I know it means a lot to Caitlin too because her family's huge into guns and stuff like that. She really wants me to, be trained the right way and do everything the right way. And we appreciate that. But not only just the stuff that you do for our family, but, you know, home church as a whole
It's a
means
pleasure.
everything. And we appreciate your time and all the effort you put into everything. So
Thank you,
we love
guys.
you and
Love
thank
you
you for
too.
being here.
You bet.